Let me ask you something, Chris.
Sure.
I guess a birthday doesn't matter. How old are you, Chris?
30.
30. I'm 36 myself.
Right.
I want to know something.
Mm-hmm.
I experienced something, and I really can't recall when precisely this started, but I noticed it. I've noticed it probably for the past couple of years about myself. Whenever I eat food, generally, yes, I shit. Whenever I eat food, I find myself probably close to a half an hour afterward, I get tired. Like, drowsy, sleepy, want to fall asleep tired. Now, granted, if I'm out physically doing something, it doesn't affect me as bad.
Right.
But I generally feel pretty fucking tired after I eat. This is across several types of meals. This could be lunch, dinner, breakfast, big, hefty, hearty meals. It's do you get that way?
Really only with lunch. And it's not so bad now since I'm working from home. But when I was at work and ate lunch, I got absolutely miserably tired afterwards.
Yeah.
But as soon as I left work, I'd be fine.
Yeah. Call it the food sleeps. I get that that often. It especially sucks at night because usually if I'm at work, it's no big deal because I'm already working and I'm moving, so there's no real chance for me to get tired.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm at home, especially sitting in this luxurious recliner with the world's greatest blanket over me and playing video games or watching something, usually at the same time,
mm-hmm.
I eat some kind of food, and probably 20, 30 minutes later, my wife's like, "You're falling asleep, aren't you?" I'm like, "No, I don't." Like a big fucking baby. I don't want to fall asleep, damn it. I got video games to play. I got shit to do.
Do you nap?
Usually I do. And I've found that even... Okay, here's the weird thing about the naps.
Mm-hmm.
If I eat food, roughly half an hour later, I get tired. I start dozing off. There are times where I feel like I was asleep for maybe 5 minutes, and if I'm snapped awake by something, like her talking to me, or I drop something like my controller, it hits something hard, or I hear a loud noise, if I am snapped awake, I'm fine. I'm perfect. I'm like, it's not like, oh man, well, guess it's time to go back to sleep. I'm like, well, hell, I'm up now. But, excuse me. But if I fall asleep, if I just drift off and fall asleep and then don't get woken up except by my natural self, it's probably 20 to 40 minutes. It's weird.
Yeah, yesterday started playing a game and I got about 20 minutes in and realized that I'd been sitting there not doing anything on the game and had my eyes closed for a bit.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I guess I'll go take a nap. 5 hours later.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, it sucks. Again, I don't know if it's because it's just something that happens when you get older, or if my body is being different when it comes to food. I almost want to say it's like digestion. Like, I don't know, maybe I don't chew my food enough, and maybe when it gets to my stomach, it's like, oh, fuck, now we got to do all the work. I'm going to take all your energy, and I'm going to use all your energy to digest this food because you're a fucking mammal that can't chew his food right. I don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's aggravating because I don't want to sleep that much. I don't like sleeping a lot. I have limited time during the day. I have enough time of the day devoted to work. I don't want to devote more time to sleep than I have to.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
When I'm off, I want to enjoy my time all the way around. I'm so sorry about the coughing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The End of Time. I'm Michael.
I'm Chris.
Definitely got to throw that shit out early since it was, like an hour and a half?
Even further, I think.
Jesus. And I was like, who the fuck are we listening to?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, you knew. You knew what you clicked. You just didn't know what you signed up for. Chris.
Yeah.
I imagine, just like me, you had a week.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. I guess I can go into mine first.
Sure.
Since, yeah. Let me think. A lot of work as usual as far as anything outside of gaming and then D&D. So I made a note last week that the wife and I were going to go to a fancy schmancy restaurant.
Right.
One where you spend a lot of money. And I did. I spent way more money than I've ever spent on food before. But let me tell you something. So this is my general overview of this restaurant. I mean, I guess it's Ruth Chris is the name of it.
Sure.
For those that are local and those that want to know, it's a very formal, hoity-toity. I mean, my outside in look and take of this restaurant, where this was a like 5-star, everybody in 3-piece suits, like just super formal. You 17 pieces of silverware that you don't know how to fucking use. All this stuff. Come to find out, I don't know the actual rating of it. I don't know if it's 4 or 3. I didn't look it up. I don't care to. But they definitely wanted you in sort of nicer clothes. No ball caps. I'm sure you didn't have to wear button-ups, but they were highly expected, I guess. Saw a lot of button-up shirts. Saw a lot of very fancy dresses, a lot of polos. Atmosphere, very laid back, low, quiet music. The staff were all immaculately dressed. We had a server and somebody there to handle water and somebody to take care of busing stuff. Lots of people, and I think somebody, I'm guessing a manager I saw him go to every table in the area that we were at and ask how the food was and everything. So the atmosphere, the restaurant itself, very nice. People are like, I didn't fucking tune into them. What is this shit? This is a fucking food review? But the food itself, I got to say, I'm sure that if I was a well-traveled, if I was a restaurant review type person, if I was an actual critic, or just somebody who made it a habit of perusing every restaurant in the local area, maybe I could have found stuff for equal at lesser price. I don't know. I didn't do this as a money-saving thing. This was something that me and my wife, I treated my wife to for her birthday.
Right.
And, excuse me again, for the price that we paid, I can't tell you if it was worth it, quote unquote. But for us, holy shit, that food was good. She had steak and a lobster, and I had Chilean sea bass. I think there was free bread with the food. We had some wine, mixed drinks or two, some stuff. It was very, very good fucking food. In particular, the lobster tail we had. I've never had a lobster that good. That was the one thing. They were all good, but that was like, yeah, fucking worth the money we paid.
Right.
All in all, just for a formal, fancy dining experience, had a good time. It was nice to go out and like go to a fancy schmancy place. Do
you think you'll do it again?
Oh man, I'm telling you, we want to so bad because that food was fucking good. It's expensive. Like that's probably a once a year place for us.
Sure.
If we could find some local place that has the same quality and taste of food for a cheaper price, fuck yeah, we'll do it. But yeah, I did not walk out of that place and go, yeah, that was a waste of money, too expensive, not worth the time, not worth her. And it was damn good. It was good. I enjoyed it. Had a good time. The food was fucking great. My car is leaking water, so I'm getting that fixed. I bought for those that have followed along so far with the podcast, I did buy a new car back in January. And the fucking seal around the windshield is leaking. Took it to the dealership and was like, hey guys, I got leaking water. And they were like, yeah, you sure do. And it's not on you, it's on us. We'll take care of the bill. So I'm getting that fixed.
Nice.
Let me think. I'm really trying to think. I haven't watched any movies lately. A couple movies that are out right now that I was thinking about seeing, but I'm so fucking up in the air about it. One is Pacific Rim Uprising, I think was the subtitle for it. Chris, have you seen the first Pacific Rim?
I have not.
Oh, man. I forget you haven't seen anything. I think you're allergic to movies. First Pacific Rim, very good, very entertaining, like a 4 out of 5, no problem. Entertaining all the way around, had a good time with it. The sequel, just from the previews that I seen, it seems very fucking watered down as opposed to what the first one was. Seems very samey in that Transformers movie way of watering shit down, blandish, I guess you would say. I kind of want to keep Pacific Rim tucked away in that nice little memory spot in my mind that it is, and don't want to tarnish it with this movie. I may see it somewhere down the line if I acquire it or rent it from Redbox or what the fuck ever, but I really don't think I'm going to go see that in theaters. The other one is Ready Player One. Now, this movie, by all rights, should be right up my alley. This is what The Outsider will say to me, because The Outsider will see Ready Player One as what it's presented as. This is a movie for nerds. This is a video game themed movie with a shit ton of pop culture nerdy references that you will like. I haven't read Ready Player One. I have the audio book somewhere. It's on my list of things to ingest, but holy shit, especially with fucking Critical Role on my plate right now.
Yeah.
I just don't have time. I will get to that book eventually, but I haven't read it. And even that aside, I find it good that I haven't read something, because then I can take a movie for what it is. This goes for anything, books, especially a video game one. So if I do watch Ready Player One, I won't have reference, which is good for me because I can take it just as the movie. But at the same time, I want to respect the source material, so I'd like to read the audiobook. I don't know which one of those two are going to come first. Honestly, I'm leaning toward the movie's going to come first, but I don't think anytime soon. I've been so on the fence about seeing this movie. I just don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I feel like I'm not a big augmented reality person yet. I think the idea of augmented reality is cool as fuck, but I'm not totally in the mindset of I want to have a headset on and just live in a world and not be in the real world. I think that's part of what the movie's about. That, and it's cool. I will totally admit that when I see the commercials for Ready Player One, when I see icons like the Akira motorcycle and Master Chief, and when I see a shit ton of references in there, and I get why the references are there thematically, but that doesn't draw me straight to a movie.
Right.
I'm not going to go see Ready Player One because I want to know why the Back to the Future car is there. Like, I really don't. I like Back to the Future, but not that fucking much. I love Akira, but I'm like, all right, well, are you just sticking a face of something in this movie, or is this, how true are you? How serious are you taking it? I don't know. I don't have a shit ton of draw to see this. I was on the verge of seeing it in theaters, but I don't know. I've heard middling reviews about it. And of course, as it is with every book that's turned into a movie, don't watch the movie. The book was better, or blah, blah, blah. So that is also a movie that maybe I will get to somewhere down the line. I'm not interested in seeing it in the theater right now. If my wife wants to go see either one of these two, I will go see them. But I'm not chomping at the bit to see them. I did see a trailer for a movie today, Chris. I think you need to check it out. I may have linked it on my Facebook page. Maybe I'll link it on the End of Time cast page. But I think the movie's called Upgrade. I've never heard of this movie. This is a random fucking thing that appeared in my personal Facebook feed, and it's rare for me to find shit in that I like. Oh yeah, what's this about? Because half of them are like, hey, watch this dog row a boat, or hey, look at this food I'm eating. I saw this half trailer playing, and I clicked it, and it's pretty fucking interesting. I promise I'll stop coughing, everybody. I promise. The premise is this. I've only watched it one time because I'm still in that mode where I want to watch something and just let it be and just get to the movie later. But apparently the guy is, I think he gets into a wreck or an accident or something, and he's paralyzed or something. And he gets taken to a hospital, and a guy approaches him and say, hey, we got this technology. If you want to walk again, you can walk again. And it's a chip that inserts into your spine, a la Dead Space. Think of it that way. And it lets the guy walk. He can move again. Well, he's in the house, and I think he's getting robbed. I want to say he comes home and catches somebody robbing his house. And he's like, what the fuck? And he goes to pick up a knife, and apparently this chip has like an AI that can talk to you, kind of like Jarvis can in Iron Man. So he goes to pick up a knife, and the AI is like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. And he goes to swing at the robber, and the robber fucking lays his ass out. And he's on the ground, he's getting choked to death, and he's like, yeah, help. He goes, I can help you if you give me 100% control of your functions in your body. He's like, permission granted. And the fucking machine takes his body over and beats the ever-loving fuck out of this guy. Like, in crazy, arm-breaking, face-smashing, neck-twisting mannerisms. And the whole time, the guy is just watching and like, oh my God! It's pretty cool. Again, I think the movie's called Upgrade. If I can remember too, I'll link a trailer, but definitely something to check out. It was by, I want to say it's by the producer, or maybe the same film company that did Get Out and a couple other movies. So even with that, that doesn't matter. That was flavor to the cake. The whole, hey, put a chip in your body and you can do some crazy shit. It's pretty cool. I'll save Critical Role for the D&D section, which I know we're gonna get to.
All right.
Video games, only one. I'm still playing Monster Hunter World. Still having a good time with it. I'm progressing up the ranks. I've still been doing my method, so to speak. I've been doing a lot of fucking join games, jumping in with people, helping them out. But now I'm doing a pretty good balance. I'll jump in some games, and then I'll go and do some of my optional games. Jump in some more games, and I'll go do some of my story ones. I did, I'm old enough. I think I'm allowed to. It's no big fucking deal. I did slightly go research something, and I not really spoiled for myself, but I wanted to know something. I had heard that this campaign was short. I heard the game itself was short. Mm-hmm. So I went and looked just how many quests deep I was in and how many were left to go. And from what I can tell, I'm about 3/4 of the way through the main campaign if I'm solely going by the monster availability. Mm-hmm. I hear there's a shit ton more to do after. There's a lot more monster to kill. Your fucking monster, your hunter rank can go skyrocketing. I have seen a hunter rank 134, I think he was, which is that I may be mistaken on that because I thought it capped at 99, but I don't know. I did get paired up with a stupidly fucking crazy overlevel person, which is it's pretty cool. It's nice to see the weapon and the number and all that shit. There is a new game plus to it as well, so there's that aspect of it. We'll probably be playing it for a good while. I'm enjoying it right now. I'm playing it every day when I come home. It's my sink-in game right now. And it will tide me over until God of War gets here. We'll see what happens when God of War does get here. Also, this month, I keep forgetting this, and I'm happy that I forget it. Avengers Infinity War does come out this month. I'm so fucking excited. Yep. I do have my tickets purchased. I was the first one of my theater to purchase the tickets. Yeah. Not that fucking matters. I just thought it was cool. So, yeah. I think aside from D&D and Critical Role, that's pretty much it for my week. If you want to talk about yours, or if you want to roll into D&D now and taper the other stuff for the end, however you want to do it.
Sure, I'll talk about games first, because that's not very much due to the D&D.
Yeah, you're a busy man, Chris.
My God. Yeah, we'll get into that. So I wrapped up Persona 5. I'm now 100% done. All trophies, and that's all Personas in game, etc. I went through up to the point where I got the bad ending based on the choice you could make. Mm-hmm. And I didn't finish playing through because that's where nothing is different. after that. So there's really no point. So I clocked at, after the credits rolled on that bad ending, 155 hours.
Nice.
For 100% on the game. Not too bad. Once I got really into the Persona grind of combining and buying and stuff, I'd go out and, grind some money, go in, combine some Personas, and then I got to the point where I was starting to look up, okay, well, which ones can I use the results of? Or when I was out getting money, I, inevitably accidentally hit a couple of them and get them automatically. Can they be used instead of what I had on my list? Because on my list, I just put whatever was cheapest. So if I had to buy them all, it's okay, well, now I have this Persona. Can it be used in this? So that helped me save a little bit of money. But I ended up with a ton anyway.
Nice.
Yeah, so I can cross that off my list finally.
Speaking of Persona 5, my phone has went off recently, and it was Joker saying, "Doors of Hades!" And people turned around and looked at me, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. And I'm thinking in my head, like, wonder what exactly they're thinking. Did they, if they even heard it, if they heard it correctly, what they think they heard. And I'm like, yeah, you tell them, you summon that Doors of Hades, Joker.
All right.
I'm still waiting for the day that Ryuji's, because I have like 6 or 7 from Ryuji, and I'm waiting for the one where he goes, ah! That's going to be super fucking loud. I'm like, I don't know. Somebody's hollering about something.
So the other game I played after that, I decided to start up Witcher 3.
Oh, nice.
So I started 1, started 2, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to try 3, see how I like it, and then decide whether or not I'm going to keep with it or go back and play one of the others first. I didn't get a lot of playtime with it. I think I have 2 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that.
I have 298 more to go.
Yeah. I got a little annoyed right before I was stopping for the night, too. Because I didn't realize that it was going to auto-teleport me, essentially, to another area. And as soon as it was done, I went back to where I was because I wanted to finish the quest I was working on. And I failed the quest because the time passed.
Oh, no.
I was like, okay, I don't like that. So that's where I stopped for the night. And then yesterday, when I picked the game up again, I loaded my manual save from, an hour prior at that point because I was just relying on autosaves just so I could go complete that quest. So I've basically gone through the story part of the first area, which I've got to get caught back up to where I was, but I turned in that quest and I went to do the other stuff, and that's where I was standing in the middle of a field on Witcher 3, not moving because I was falling asleep. So I only got about 20 more minutes worth of gameplay yesterday before I took my 5.5 hour nap.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll probably be picking that back up when I'm not wrecking my brain and going crazy.
Yeah.
With campaign stuff. That's it for games for me for the week.
Okay.
The rest of my time was spent with D&D. I've been working on world building, encounter building, enemy building, all that. Preparing for Tuesday's session we had, which is why I took my nap because we went for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even realize that until after the fact, but I was like, yeah, well, you did say like 2 hours, but
yeah, man,
it's kind of like recording a podcast, man. I don't expect D&D sessions to be short. And I'm not putting you up against him, but if you use Critical Role as even like a basic, he talks fast. And he puts these people through their shit fast. There's many times where you'll see him going, hey, come on, what's your decision? Let's go. Come on, what are you thinking? And those are 3-hour fucking sessions. And he is blowing through stuff. So I don't ever get into ours and go, man, I hope this is like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I got shit to do. If I'm there playing, I'm there for the haul.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch time better next session because that was rough getting up for work. Speaking of Critical Role, I did catch up on. I'm officially caught up on it. Period. I finished watching all of. I'm trying to think of where I was last time. I think I was done with Campaign 1 and start on Campaign 2. I'm caught up on Campaign 2.
Nice.
They're supposed to be doing another episode tonight, but they don't even start until like 9 Pacific or something like that. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not going to catch it live.
Yeah.
But yeah, so D&D. Campaign prep. It was funny. I was actually a little concerned, and it ended up being pretty unfounded after the session about the encounter that you guys had. Because when I was testing out macros and stuff, I rolled 3 out of 5 crits.
Oh my god.
So I was like, oh, this could be bad for them if this continues. Because I was like the night before I was doing some final tests on stuff.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I actually had the NPC offer to heal you guys. Because I was like, they have no healing spells. This is going to be rough.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny how, despite all my planning, you know, thinking I was prepared, so many things that were just on the fly. You were doing your tracking and you're like, I'm going to go around the building. I was like, oh, I guess the building does have 4 sides, huh?
Yeah.
I expect you to just go in the front door. So you're like, is there a back door? I was like, sure. I didn't plan for there to be a back door. You know, there's just going to be a main area in the office. And it's like, well, the back door wouldn't lead to the office. So now I need this little area off to the side. You know, what's that area for? Blah, blah, blah. Asking what kind of neighborhood it's in. I don't know.
Yeah, that was so... that was my first, like, what the fuck moment, because I had tracked the guy all the way from the tavern to that church, and I don't know if maybe I wasn't paying attention, maybe it wasn't said, I don't know, but the rogue was like, yeah, I'm gonna scamper away into this building and hide, and I'm like, building? I was under the impression that this was kind of like a remote church, like not maybe out in the middle of nowhere, but like in a forest or maybe like a secluded area. And you were like, no, we're like kind of in the middle of buildings and we're basically like a town. I was like, well, fuck. If I knew that, here I am just walking. I imagine my character was walking around this building trying to be all sneaky and stealthy, but there's buildings all around me. I imagine people were like looking like, what the fuck is that guy doing? So I was like, well, fuck me running. I guess I'm just now looking for a place to get in. Everybody sees me. No big deal.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things where the city doesn't really have a design. It's a small village, so there's not a whole lot to it.
Yeah.
And like when I said that the group went, or that you tracked it, you know, north and then to the northeast, to the northeast edge of town, that only came about because of the earlier question about the seedier places. And I was like,
yeah,
sure, there are some slum type areas to the east. That's
right.
about as bad as it gets. So when I was like, all right, this, you know, abandoned church would be close to the slum, so I guess it's going to be on the northeast side.
Yeah.
I was just basing it completely on the earlier conversation.
And the details help because that's 7 people that have 7 different views of what they're into. And you're the only one that knows the reality of it.
Yeah. And by no, it means make it up on the spot.
Right. I mean, you don't have to say that, but sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. It was, the whole encounter went it was very interesting the way it went.
Yeah.
I had expected it to be a little tougher than it was. I don't know if it's just because it's hard to balance encounters when you have a group this big. That's for sure.
Yeah. And such low level too.
Yeah. So when Adam had actually run ahead and aggroed those other 2 guys, I was like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
But then he essentially killed both of them in one turn, or killed one and then wounded the other in the same turn.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so they're worthless at that point.
Yeah.
Though he was on the next turn before the encounter ended. If the guy had gotten one more turn, Adam probably would have gone down.
Yeah.
Because I actually nerfed him a bit because I was concerned about him being overpowered. But I didn't even use my, reduced power spell because it's a melee range. But when he went in melee range of the guy, I was like, okay. All his talking is about to get him in trouble.
Yeah. But that's what bards do, man. They talk. I was looking over some stuff with him today, just looking at the shit that Bard gets. I this is my fucking console and PC RPG experience, but I never took bards as being the charismatic fucking people talkers really until The Witcher 3, actually. And then I'm reading the shit that bards do. I'm like, dude, these guys can walk into anything at higher levels and just sway shit. They just control people. They're just so charismatic and so whatever. Which I saw cool shit from my character too once I actually looked at things that that a ranger gets when they increase in level. But yeah, and I should know that as well from watching Critical Role, because good God, Scanlan gets himself out of some shit.
All the players have their, all the characters, I guess players is still accurate, but all the characters have their moments in that series. And especially him, he has some very, very interesting moments, especially towards the end. When you're getting up into higher levels, 18 to 20. I think he finished up at 20.
Oh, wow.
I think I actually looked at a level breakdown the other day, and I think Pike was the lowest at like 16.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably because of all her missed sessions where she wasn't, there.
Yeah.
But they had a fairly large spread from 16 to 20, with I think 3 of them being 20 or 2 of them being 20 and a couple 19s or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, near the end, those get pretty crazy, and especially because they start multi-classing and doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, you've got the ranger, and then he's going to bust out this ability from this other class. And one of the things about them not, actually talking about their leveling and stuff, you don't know they're multi-classed until they use something from that class.
Right.
Or until the placard shows up. They usually don't show the placard until it's revealed, story-wise.
Yeah, even some of their skills and shit, or their spells too, is they'll just, and I learned this. And they're like, when'd you learn that? I had some rest time and I read the book and got it committed to memory. Cool shit. They all play their characters. That's what I like. I like that they all, to a fault, they all play their character and act their character. That's why looking at the shit that Adam does, I look at what Scanlan does. I look at the talking and the run of the mouth, and I'm like, man, you can get yourself into trouble, and I'll be damned if he doesn't pull his ass out of some shit, though. That man, Scanlan, I'm up to level, I'm actually on 49 right now.
Okay.
And I think of the 40, 30 something battles they've had, Scanlan has got how do you want to do this probably like 10 times. I'm like, you're a fucking bard, but he gets them and he plays his shit, and it's fucking cool. Definitely having a good time watching the show, watching where it goes. It's starting to get a little bit drama heavy here and there. I get more interested when the battles come around.
Yeah.
But only slightly less interested when it comes time for the talking. I'm also getting to a information saturation kinda, which is okay because Matt's there, and Matt regurgitates shit for you at the beginning of every episode, and even with their shit that you forget, he brings it back up anyway. But there are a lot of fucking names and a lot of places and a lot of shit going on. I'm like, I don't remember. Like, I'm having fucking, there are story threads that are not finished, and I'm remembering them, and I'm like, when are you guys gonna like do something about this thing? Because this was a very fucking important thing, and y'all just kind of let that go. Like, when is that gonna come back around? Like, what? And then who the fuck is that person? So, but the way that they are running the show, both character wise and Matt being the DM, I'm still following along. I get what's going on. It's very entertaining. And today, this may, you know what? It may have been the one you sent me as well, but I did watch, I guess is a newer intro video for them.
Yeah.
It's the one where they're actually in their LARP gear, kind of. Yep. Yeah.
That's what I posted.
Man, that was good. That was real good. A lot of special effects. Everybody dressed up like their character.
And it captured a lot of the aspects of their personalities, too.
Yeah. Yeah. So many funny moments, man. A lot of good times, a lot of drama, not like between the people drama, but like the drama in the storyline. But so many fucking funny moments. I'm telling you, I need to get better at jotting some down so I can bring them back up. But fucking Grog being dumb as a fucking Goliath barbarian should be, and them playing into it, and him trying to do stuff like Vex asked him one time, is like, how many fingers am I holding up? She was holding up 10, and he was like, 6. She's like, yeah, that's. So she's like, no, you can't. Hold on, let me. She hold up 7. How many hold up? 6. Yeah, that's all right, Grog.
Yep.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about the characters and stuff. If you look at all the things that are focused around them, all the things they're doing. I talked about this a little bit before, but a lot of the things the campaign focuses on are things that their characters are trying to accomplish,
Yeah.
For their thing.
I felt that recently. Like, it seemed like they had a couple solid arcs to begin with. Spoiler warning for Critical Role, I guess. But right before or around the time when this fucking 4 Chroma Dragon shit started, I think Keyleth went on her quest, and then Percy went on his quest, and it seemed like Grog was about to start his, or is fixing to go into his. But yeah, they're all getting not special treatment, but they're all getting their story stuff in as well, while the overarching stories are going on too.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's why I've been, bugging everybody recently more about getting their background stuff in and, trying to identify their character goals, because sure, I have an overarching story in mind, but it gets very grindy in between if it's like, oh, hey, another encounter, not related to the story, but just something, that happens.
Yeah.
But if you focus on something the character's trying to accomplish, then it now has meaning. It's not just another random encounter to give a little bit more experience until the next big guy. I mean, right now I think you're the only one that I really have a lot of stuff I could do for. I haven't actually gone through and checked again today. I don't think anybody's updated since our session.
Yeah.
But hopefully I get it in so I can start building some stuff. Otherwise, it's just going to be all about you.
Hey, you notice whenever you said that the person that said something about a hunt, like this thing was related to the hunt, I was like, what's that about?
Yeah.
I want to know, is that about me or is that about something else? I was like, all right, just making sure, because if I start hearing things around my canon, I'm going to ask about it.
Yeah, and a little behind the curtains, I didn't even think about that. I just went through and I'm like, all right, this is a, shut down church. Why is it shut down? All right, well, based on the region, anything that's got a evil vibe to it is going to be run out of town, since the current people have taken power. So I'm going to make it something that's chaotic evil. I was like, what's something that's not terrible that you'd actually find in a town? It's not like, we're all worshiping Satan. It's like, this guy's kind of a craphead,
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll pick this one, just a random one from the list. It's like it's near it's a fishing village. It's near woods. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you said that, and I was like, oh, that's a good point. So now I'm like, is that involved? Is there something to it? Who was worshiping this before? So now I'm going through all this stuff around that random decision I made just to give a identifying marker on the door. Because it's like, okay, well, what kind of church is it? Well, I had to have something.
Yeah.
So now that's evolving.
And just to let the audience know, so they're not like sitting outside with their fucking arms up. What the fuck are y'all talking about? Chris and I play D&D. He's DMing a campaign. I have a ranger character in, and listen to me, Matt Mercering this shit. So last we left off, up to this point, the last session that we had, we were in a tavern. Guy came in, said, "Hey, you guys want to check something out?" And I went and scouted some tracks. We went to this old abandoned church. We made our way downstairs, fought a bunch of dudes, and won the day. And another thing that happened in those encounters, one, I had to mentally go, well, here we go, because I was by something, and instead of attacking it, I went straight for the fucking head honcho. And I'm like, last time I did this, I did get knocked flat on my ass, but fuck it. I'm a young guy. I'm level 1. I don't learn, apparently. I need to learn the hard way, and I ran past him. Got knocked down to 3 hit points. I was like, don't fucking care. If I can get there, I can finish this. And rolled a fucking great hit. Took care of that. And then when they were fighting the sword, there was a fucking floating sword came out of a chest or a box or something. And I was like, I wonder if I can try to grab that sword. I wonder if I can like grab that sword and keep it, and maybe I can like have it re-enchanted. Maybe Chris wants me to do that. And somebody hit it and smashed it in half. I was like, well, I'm not fucking taking that sword now.
You weren't the only one thinking about grabbing it.
Yeah.
It was.
I was totally having a Suikoden 2 moment where I was like, am I gonna get or a Suikoden period moment? I was like, am I gonna have my own Star Dragon sword right now? Is that what's going on? My own fucking talking sentient sword for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought about Grog, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I don't want that. Maybe I don't want that at all.
Yeah, it's a bit early for magical weapons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was pretty funny when I think it was Adam tried to grab it, either him or the Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Adam. Tried to grab it and ended up cutting himself on it instead. That hit could have killed him too.
Yeah.
He got down to 3 hit points from that.
Yep. And then we fucking leveled up, and I rolled double my fucking hit points in the first level up roll.
You rolled max.
Yep, and that's my luck. I will now be rolling 1s and 2s from now on for my HP. I know it.
Yeah, you're now ridiculously higher than everyone else.
And still at an 18 strength. Good God.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, very good. It was also cool going through on my own and leveling up my own character. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the tip, for the reminder about the double-handed thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not, and I don't have I don't have a comparison for 4 and 3 and 3.5 and all that, because I've never played those, and even the ones that I did, I've forgotten all about them. But as far as like the leveling process, seems very fucking simple. You can literally go to your class page, and that's all you need.
Yep.
They tell you what you get. They tell you how many of something you get. They tell you here you can go down to this same page and pick something from this list, and then add the details and make sure you change modifiers that you have to, and using all that in accordance with Roll20, which just adds shit up the line for you. It's very simple. Very easy.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of you picking spells and or anything, picking things that you have choices from and molding them around the character that you want to make.
Yeah. Level 3 is really the big decision point for all the classes.
Yeah.
That's where you have to go through and read multiple things, and I'll actually have to probably provide some of those because Roll20 only shows the free content. So you don't have everything that's in the player handbook.
Mhm.
So I'm going to have to go through and compare those and, list things out.
I'm guessing we're far away from a beholder, so that's good. Which, okay, when the outside world sees D&D, they usually see a beholder. Like that's usually like the go-to standard like reference image for D&D. And I had always known about them. I understood that they were badasses, depending on what level it is or what type of beholder, because there's many types, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Beholders are powerful. It wasn't until around episode 46 or so when they fought their second beholder that I realized how fucking wicked these things are. Like, they go 3 fucking turns in one round, and they use multiple eyes, and each eye can cast a multitude of things.
Yep.
Like, one eye is stoning a person, another eye is is fearing another person, another one is like completely freezing another person. I'm like, oh, Jesus
Yeah, there's
Christ.
petrification as well.
Yeah.
The big one, though, is the disintegration ray, or the death ray.
Yeah. Yeah. And lots of enemies. And even usually during their breaks they play all the fucking what is that, Geek and Sundry stuff. I usually skip through that. No offense, Geek and Sundry, but it's not really my thing. But I did watch one. I don't know if I'm sure he has multiple, but I did watch one where it was just Matt giving like some general tips about things.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about battle building or something like that, encounter building. It's like, yeah, if you go through, there's a multitude of books, which we know there's a fuck ton of reference books for D&D things.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you're building a monster and you have an idea for one that doesn't fit the archetype, just fucking make one up. Make your own parameters. You can have whatever the fuck you want in this game.
Yeah, that's why, like I mentioned, I nerfed that one because it was it could one-shot anyone, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I nerfed the spell to be still pretty deadly. But since it's, melee range, it's not as bad. Except for people that should be in the front lines with more hit points anyway.
Yeah.
But instead of, just not using that enemy, I was like, I want to use this enemy. This is, this fits the, NPC bad guy I want to have. Everything else about it was fine. I just need to nerf that one spell some.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got another session coming up next week. I'm interested. Not interested. Of course I'm interested. Can't wait to play. Can't wait to try out my new shit. Hopefully I'll get to use my new shit. If not, I will eventually. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've got everything planned up to the next encounter. I'm just kind of trying to figure out what to do from there. That's kind of my sticking point. Because, this is kind of the introduction into the bad guys. Figuring out what they're about, trying to get more information on what they're doing. And I basically have the ending of the arc. I just don't have anything in between right now. So I'm like, all right, this is what I wanted to end with. How do we get there? I've spent a lot of time designing this capital city. Oh, I didn't even talk about the map I made. That took me, 2 or 3 hours to do.
Just a little underground dungeon map?
No. That was quick. That took me.
Oh, the world map.
Yeah, the country map. Not even the world map.
That's just
Yeah, that's just the country you're in. That's
gotcha.
If you remember the image that was the background to the game on Roll20.
Yeah.
The darker blue and green. That was the world map, or at least the known world map.
Gotcha.
But I wanted a different. I was filling it in with trees and stuff like the country map has, but I didn't like the overall look. So I was like, all right, I want to do this different. So I just dropped it in Flash, traced over it, did some other stuff, and I'm not smart enough to use Photoshop, so I use Flash.
Yeah, me neither.
And I'm pretty happy with the result.
Yeah.
I didn't label anything. It was funny. Because one of our players was like, oh, I want to go to this place. she had no idea that's where you guys are. So I was like, we'll see. Because I just introduced the name of the inn this last episode. And that's just because I wanted to give it a name. Someone had said something that was remotely related to it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's the Hidden Magpie. Now you finally know the inn and where you're at.
Yeah.
Still don't know the city name. Still don't know anything about the country. Which I probably should have introduced some of it at the start, but we just kind of jumped right into it.
Yeah.
So, and at some point, a map will probably be bought, and that's when more of the, area stuff will come to light.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry it's taking up your video game time, man. It's not good.
It's all good. I was using a bit of my idle work time to, do some of the note taking and brainstorming things. But now I'm finally, after a month, actually getting stuff to do. So that time will be drying up, and I'll be even more hard pressed to find time to play games in between all my session planning.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, man, you're a busy man, and I don't envy you the work. It's a lot of shit. But so far, it's interesting. So far, it's fun. We'll see where it goes. Adam did bring up a point, not a bad point, just something I didn't think of either. The fact that we were all pretty much chaotic neutral. He's like, we're not all good. I'm like, yeah, but the way that I see it, I don't know the alignment of Vox Machina. Mm-hmm. I don't know what their character alignments are, but they all work together, and they all the characters act like they're all family. Like they talk to and about each other as if they're family. So even if we're all chaotic neutral, that could just mean that, hey, if it doesn't benefit me or my party, I'm not too concerned. Or, we're not going to do something unless we decide to do it together.
Yeah.
But I'm not just going to flat out, stab my party member. If you do, there's probably a reason why or whatnot.
Yeah, it is actually kind of annoying that's literally everyone's alignment. I'm double checking just to see if I missed one.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody's... Oh, sorry, the cleric is chaotic good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all basically because that's the type of character they want to play. They want to be able to do things that they want to do, right, and not worry about, is this good or not? Do I want to do this? Okay, I'm going to do it. But we aren't running an evil campaign. So That's something that, I mentioned before, that if we wanted to run an evil campaign, we would start off with one like that. So if people get too crazy, there will be repercussions.
Yeah. So. I feel that it's, I as an outsider, as a newcomer to D&D, I just feel like the alignment as far as the party goes, I don't think it shouldn't have any effect. I mean, if we all become aligned for whatever reason, we could all have our own motivations behind whatever we do, but over time, natural cause is going to take over. Mm-hmm. There's going to be enough times of you putting us in, like after our 7th battle, where I have to go cure wounds on somebody, or the cleric pulls somebody out of a pit, or the barbarian jumps in front of a fucking death fireball for somebody. It's going to come a point where, look, we all stuck together. We've all helped each other out. None of us have been like, oh, well, that arrow was coming right for your forehead. I went for the bag of gold instead. There's going to come a point where we're eventually going to be like, man, we're fucking tight. I'll look out for that guy. Our fucking bard has already saved my ass, and I've kind of repaid him by giving him an item that we found. But there's going to come times where that's going to happen again. Somebody's going to help the bard, and around we go. And even if we don't have some centered, we have all decided we're going to do this thing together, there's going to come a time where after enough rallying together, we're going to be like, you know what, we make a pretty good team. We should pursue some things. Maybe we can go find some treasure. Look at Critical Role. I'm sure that I've got the idea that they have status. They've said it several times that that Vox Machina have status amongst people now. Like they're known across areas.
Yeah.
But when you break them down individually, like look at Vex. She's like always out for money. She's always out for gold and stuff. Like when you would think you should not be looting bodies and shit, she's like, I want to go check stuff out. And the other party's like, we need to get out of here. But that doesn't drive the party apart. You know, they don't just kick her out, or they don't just, I'm going to go do my own thing. If an enemy popped up, they'd all be banding together again.
Yeah, there are definitely moments where they get close to alignment shifts, and one character actually has one.
Oh, really? Before
the end of it. Not to evil, but from, I believe, good to neutral. Because of certain decisions being made up to that point. And then there was one final decision. It was like, okay, that was a dirtbag move. And they didn't announce it on the thing. I didn't realize that person actually had a character or a alignment shift until I was watching the wrap up at the end of the campaign that they did in between the two campaigns.
Wow.
They're like, oh yeah, that, alignment shift was because of X and Y, and, it was a long time coming, but yeah, it didn't really change anything, but it was a way of letting the player know, yeah, you're definitely headed towards the other side of the spectrum if you keep this up.
Yeah. Excuse me. And it is something I've thought about, again, just talking about the character alignments and who we are. And unfortunately, I was there for a couple of these characters' creations, and I've heard in passing them say things like, I'm just going to be a dick character, or I could make this character. And I'm like, yeah, but even if that's the type of character you want to be, that's the type of character you want to be. I think eventually the party dynamic is going to overrule that. Eventually just over experiences. You may jump in here thinking that you're just going to be the guy that's actually stealing from everybody and waiting for the time to backstab somebody, but I don't think that's the type of campaign Chris is going to run, and I think over time that's just going to be a foregone conclusion. I feel like eventually you would get to a point, if you were literally making a backstabbing character where you're literally out to fuck the party over, you're probably going to get fucked yourself. Unless you have a way to get out of it and beat off everybody, which at that point, why would you? I don't know. I don't see that in this campaign.
Yeah, that's usually something that's established early on between the DM and a player.
Yeah.
That, hey, or maybe later on, it's like, I'm getting tired of playing my character. I want to play a new character. Maybe we can have this one exit by betraying the group or something, and then running off. We did have a little bit of a conflict at the end of our session between some characters, and that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's hard enough to get a group of, chaotic neutral characters to come around some sort of cause because, everyone's concerned about themselves. So, what's the sticking point? Sure, like you said, you get that, those individual relationships based on, saving someone or helping them or, not screwing them over maybe, something like that.
Yeah.
But as a whole, it's going to be very interesting to see what the reason is this group is sticking together.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, the freedom of the D&D system as a whole is massively appealing to me. This is open world RPG video gaming. That's the way that using my video game knowledge, that's what this is. Complete freedom, almost sandbox in a way, because you can make whatever the fuck you want, provided the DM allows it and the rules can follow through with it. But even saying all that, I'm not a PvP person in video games. I don't want to play a PvP type campaign.
Yeah.
if somebody's acting out of line, my character's not going to be like, all right, well, let me take a couple days in my character sheet and figure out ways to thwart your character. It's not, look, you're either with us or you're against us. Like, you drew a blade on that guy, you stole money from her. Like, I'm not aligning with you, and I'd rather not party with you. So get in line or get out. And I don't know. People can play how they want to, but yeah. I'm hoping that our party members will be the come around to the lighter side of things. And that's actually saying it wrong, because no, I don't think anybody's on the dark side of anything right now. Even with us having like shady looking characters, like I guess we have a rogue, so we have like a thief type character, but yeah. I don't take anybody yet as like, gotta watch for that guy. None of us know each other. You know, if you're looking at this game from a eagle's eye view, looking at these people from on high, none of these people know each other. So everybody's on kind of a clean slate right now, pretty much, and everything they're doing is marking for or against themselves. And it, as you said, it will be interesting to see if people are having negative intentions toward other players, when those intentions will be made actions, and then furthermore, will they go away? What will make them go away? Like what makes a character goes, I'm gonna try to fucking shank everybody here, to, yeah, no, you know what, I used to be a dick, I don't want to do that. This party has saved my ass twice, and I've gotten fat rich off of them, so fuck yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's probably gonna be one of the driving forces behind the group is money. You know,
yeah,
pretty much everybody's there.
Which is fine. Yeah. You know, whether you want to have money just because you want to have a treasure, or you want to have better armor, or maybe you want a fucking castle, or whatever. Gold is not a bad thing. It's when there's 4 chromatic dragons tearing your castle to pieces, and your forethought is, I need to get the magic guy to open up a portal so I can shove my treasure through. You know, which I guess if you can do it and make it roll, that's fine. But yeah. We'll see. We shall see.
Yep.
I kind of don't want to say, like, I don't know. I have no negative intentions against anybody. Like, there was something else I noticed when everybody was looting everybody. I wanted to go check the guy. I wanted to find out anything particular I could find out about him, and then I was done. I'm gonna pull guard duty while you guys pull your shit. And it was like, we need to loot everything possible. And I was like, then I started second guessing myself. I was like, wait a minute. Well, I do need better weapons down the road, so I'm not gonna get that if I don't have money. I'll just travel back to Vector Spire and ask Locke. I'll just bum Daddy Locke for some money.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
You guys as a whole have a pretty good payday coming once you get back up, though.
Yeah.
So even aside from, you know, what loot may or may not get evenly spread, your reward at the end is, you know, kind of a way to keep things fairly even.
I was like, man, are we already gonna start shit with fucking treasure and money and gold? I was like, guys, we all fucking played this. We were all in this battle together. Just put the pile in the middle, split the shit evenly. Let's get back up there. Come on. And it was already with the shenanigans. I was like, oh, okay. I'm checking the body. I just want to know what the fuck's up with this guy and where this place is. After that, I'm good. Excuse me. So, yeah, it was interesting. It was this one definitely went a little bit better than the first one. The first one was the first one. Of course, that was going to be rough. But the fact that we had a driving goal this time, you know, something to push us forward, and then getting to okay, Chris wants us to figure out how we're going to handle these situations. How are we going to go after these people? What can we see? Are we aware of what we can and can't see? How are we going to act with the terrain, with low visibility, with having all these people in the same area? You know, it was good. It was a good starter battle encounter area for us to feel some things out. And I know there's more come. My challenge to myself is knowing what the fuck I'm doing with my character. Because when I went after, mainly when I went to go level my character up, I was rereading over things and checking attributes, and I was like, dude, there's like 7 other things I could have fucking done. I could have had. There's these other things I didn't even fucking pay attention to that I could have added to it, but that's okay. I've leveled up. I've got new attributes. I've kind of committed to memory what they do. So maybe next encounter I'll be like just one example. My favorite terrain was grassland. Did we not travel over grassland to go from the tavern to the church?
Technically, it's an urban environment.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, but see, the fact that I didn't even think to ask that's also what I meant. Like, I should have asked that. Maybe I had favorite terrain, because if I did, that tracking for me would have been way easier. But it was okay. I made the tracking work anyway. Dude, I was making all my rolls for things, too.
You nailed all your rolls. None of them could have been any better.
I was like, dude, this is not... I don't like blowing my luck this fucking early. Holy shit. And then I capped the night off with doubling my HP, so cool. Cool beans.
And that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you prepared for the next week yet, or it's still work in progress?
I mean, I've got the next encounter, and I don't know if there should be something in between, or not. I'm a little concerned that it'll be kind of short if that's the only encounter. But like I said, I don't have anything planned for after that encounter yet. So I've got to decide. That's kind of the turning point. You know, is there more for you guys to do in this city, or is there going to be a driving force to get you elsewhere?
It's also the fact that there's 6 players you're working with, so they may make their own thing to do. You know? Like, not saying this is what you're doing, but if we're going back up top and then we immediately get into another fight, that's one thing. But if we go back up top and then we have a choice. We could go deliver the heads to the guy or however the fuck we're doing this. But then the party could be like, wait a minute, before we do that, let's go back to the tavern and talk about how we're going to do this, because maybe the bard wants to talk about how we can swindle more money out of this, or maybe the rogues want to talk about a way that we can get in there and just steal the money. Like, who knows? And you're like, if you guys would have taken 4 steps to the left out of that fucking church, we were in a fight. You know, you never know, because people are going to do their thing.
Yeah, I do hope that when you guys do go back to a tavern, that we get more of the, inner party stuff, dialogue and talking and all that kind of, because I think there's kind of an opportunity, because you, and I have to go back and retcon this, but you actually shouldn't have been able to read that. It wasn't supposed to be Abyssal. It was supposed to be Infernal. So I'm going to have to go back and update that and let everybody know.
I was like, are you playing to my character, Chris?
No.
Abyssal's pretty fucking out there random for a language, and it so happens that that's what this is.
Yeah, it was actually supposed to be Infernal, and there is a reason for that. So it not being that isn't a big deal at this point, but it certainly would be... it wouldn't align with things later on.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah. I not talking about my character, but me as a person, I would like for us to go whenever back to the tavern and have some more interpersonal talk. But again, talking from my character's point of view, we're still all a bunch of nobodies to each other. I mean, even if we took this mission and went to get some gold, when we get back to the tavern, it's more like, hey, we were all involved in this one thing. There has to be something or some things that are making all of our heads turn, that are affecting all of us simultaneously and driving us all to be together. That is when they're going to start talking. Because right now, I'm going to go back to that place, get my money. Hey, guys, it was fun. I'm going back to the tavern. I'm going to go sleep with my gold. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yep. I'm in the party dynamic mode, though. I'm interested. I can't wait.
Good.
Well, D&D Critical Role. There have been a lot of fucking laugh out loud moments with this campaign in Critical Role. Another noteworthy one was Scanlan finding a painter and having him paint making a huge fucking gigantic picture of him on horseback with fucking Pike holding on in the back. It's just, I was laughing the whole time here because he inspired the artist to go above and beyond. And he's like, as you're talking, you can just see the artist getting lost in thought and just waving his hands about and drawing in the air, and he just mentally paints this large, just sweeping landscape that you did not tell him about. And he's just going off on his own and being hyper creative. And I was like, yep, that's a bard.
What?
And it's fucking Scanlan too, so he's a fucking riot, man.
Yeah. What episode did you say you're on?
I am on 49 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this arc, this campaign right now is going to play out, because they just got shit on pretty bad with these fucking Chroma dragons coming in.
Oh yes.
I mean, one dragon alone. See, this is where I don't know. I think it was you that was telling me how they went back and ran. It runs through their campaign before they started recording. There was something. Actually, no, you didn't tell me that. I saw it on my own. One of their interstitiaries was that they played intermissions. What the fuck am I using words wrong? One of their intermissions in one of the episodes was a artist got together with all the voice actor, got together with all the Critical Role people, and made like a really quick rundown, like slideshow of everything that happened up to the point when they started recording. And apparently they have taken down a dragon before.
Mm-hmm.
But see, even that, I mean, a dragon is powerful fucking regardless.
Yeah,
there are levels of dragons. There are types of dragons. And yeah, they've fought one before, but this is 4 of them, and they seem fuck off hard dragons.
They've actually fought 2.
Oh, well, yeah. So I'm gauging the intensity and the threat level of what every time that they face a monster. I'm keeping note of how, not so much how easily, but how difficult the encounter has been for them. Like, they fought a beholder before this one. But this one seemed a little bit more powerful, and even though it seemed like Matt used more of the Beholder's abilities in the second fight, maybe that was like some feedback he got from people, or I'd have to go back and like actually watch the first Beholder fight. But this one was gonna fuck them up, but it didn't, because it kept losing its rolls. Like, it was throwing petrification spells out, and it would miss its roll. I'm thinking, dude, that person's destroyed, that person's petrified, that person's feared. And the only thing is saving your asses right now are these rolls. This was like a 30-minute fight that should have been about an hour and a half, with probably a couple deaths and unconscious people in it. But the luck of the dice, man. Luck of the dice.
Was that second one you're talking about, the one down in the water area?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that one also... it also had to do with its cone and stuff.
Yeah.
Because its cone negates its eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't target people, so it was limited on stuff like that. There were some good rolls in there that helped that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, really at that point, aside from, like petrification, that's huge. If they get stoned, then they're stoned. But they made a lot of good saves. The environment worked out for them overall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of angles and stuff.
Yeah. It gives me, as, again, somebody who hasn't played it enough in my youth to get everything, and not being around enough people on my own personal life to get everything down, it teaches you a lot just by watching. I mean, you see that you have shit at your disposal, and you just fucking tell the GM what you want to do. And if it's completely out of the whack, the GM will tactfully tell you, hey, you can't do that. But if you want to try it, try it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just for people walking through a cave. Oh, they find a wolf and the wolf engages / the victory's won. There's terrain to use. There's vision to take into account. There's distance that you can move. All this stuff. That was another thing for this last session for me. I'm like, man, I can only move 30 feet. I have to expend my action to move 60. And I'm like, 30 feet, here we go. And it's like you moved almost nothing. Oh, no. Oh, God. Everybody's up there having fun. And I'm, hold on, fucking grandpa's making his way up there. The guy with 18 strength is making his way slowly to the battlefield as he steps over all the dead bodies on his way there.
Yeah, that's something that, as a group will need to be coordinated better because, yeah, you got stuck kind of behind. But at the same time, maybe if you were out there, you would have been the one to get commanded to run away. So,
I man, when Adam said I put a disguise on and I'm going up ahead, I was like, yes, this is the shit I'm talking about right here. This is when you do shit in a fight that goes outside of what you think it's going to do. I love it. I love using your character type and the environment and other shit as opposed to, all right, you four walk into an area, you see a monster, you fight the monster, you win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was rolling very poorly for the NPCs there too. With the stealth, a couple people had some pretty bad stealth rolls, like 12 and something like that. But on the perception for the NPCs, I was rolling like 3 and 6. I was like, okay, yeah, you're good.
Yep. Not bad for level 1 characters, I must say.
Yeah.
I don't think, nobody passed out.
It was close. There were 3 characters that were 1 hit from going down.
Yep. And I was one of them because I'm a fucking cowboy and I can't learn. But oh well.
Yep. It would have been interesting too because nobody had any healing spells left, so you would have had to just stabilize and basically carry them out.
Yep. But now I do. I was so happy when I saw that Rangers can start getting magic at level 2. This is something I should have already known if I had paid attention to the fucking Ranger class sheet when I was reading
I mentioned it too.
I know, and trust me, I know. I've been so intent on me not being able to use magic the way that a Witcher can that I just kind of blew it out of my mind. Like, this is gonna be some Final Fantasy 1 bullshit where the fighter can use magic, but it's like level 30 before you can, and by that point it doesn't even matter. And then I looked at the sheet and it's like level 2 spell casting. I was like, oh yeah, here we go. So,
yeah, I totally, I have some ideas for getting you more, towards your Witcher character.
Mm-hmm.
But I made a joke about it earlier, but I don't want it to be all about your character. There's 6 of you.
Yeah.
So while I have these great ideas for your character, I'm really, 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 really want other people to give me more stuff to work with so I can be like, all right, here's your, here's Jowie's thing that came up. You can either do that, focus on the main plot, or, the bard has something going on. You could resolve any of these 3 things. What do you want to do? Is the group going to make a decision to do it all together, or are people going to go their separate ways? What's going to happen?
You got to use it. You have to use a cattle prod, okay? You just have to, you got to tase these guys and tell them to get their shit wrote down.
I mean, maybe it should just be all about you Forbidden, and when they're like, well, I want something cool, be like, well, you finish your bio. It's been 6 weeks, and I still don't know, whether or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. But I'm enjoying it, having fun. Can't wait. We'll see where it goes. When I kill my first dragon, I will be taking teeth and making something out of it. I can tell you that right now.
That's a good milestone.
Yeah. Well, we're running a little bit early for topics, but that's fine. Where have you heard any news or anything lately that's caught your eye or ear?
Was there anything? I saw something earlier about the Spyro remaster.
Oh yeah,
has a release date of like September or something like that. So that's a little further off than I thought it was going to be, because we already heard rumors about it. They just hadn't formally announced it. So it's kind of disappointing that's that far out, but at the same time, I don't think enough people really care about it that it's a big deal.
What is a big deal, bad and good, is I haven't really been hearing too many great things about Far Cry 5, which it's not a huge deal to me because I haven't even played 4 yet, but I feel this is something that I've discovered about myself recently is I'm getting to the habit now where I'm kind of keeping things where they are. Like when I talked about Pacific Rim earlier, I've watched Pacific Rim 5-10 different times. I enjoy it. It's good popcorn, robots versus monsters, fun beat 'em up movie. I like it. But until something comes out, a sequel or a prequel or something that I feel will do it justice, I kind of don't want to. I don't want anything else. Just leave that right where it is. Have fond memories of that and let it be, as opposed to it being tarnished. And I'm treating a lot of video games like that too. I've played Far Cry 3. I've only played through it. Let me make sure. As I'm Rolodexing my memory, I only played through Far Cry 3 one time, but that's okay because I don't. It was a good experience. I had a good time with it. It was solid entertainment. Enjoyed it all the way through. But nothing about 4 that I saw in the trailers really stuck out to me when I first saw the trailers. It kind of sucks because Vaz, being the antagonist that he was, it's like you got a pedestal to reach when you put another character. And actually Far Cry 3 had 3 antagonists, not just one. So when I look at Far Cry 4 and I look at the character they were putting up against him, I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to say what I really mean. I'm not saying it right. When you play Far Cry 3, you're gonna get a character with Vaz. You're gonna get a level of intensity. You're going to get a level of danger. You're going to get a level of just fear about this character because of the way that his character is made and played out. When I saw Vaz is menacing. He means to be, and he is menacing. And even if he doesn't like go overboard with it, you get the intensity from that character. When I saw the trailers for Far Cry 4, it felt more like they were trying to make that character intimidating and intense, and it wasn't hitting. It's a mixture of I've already got that character from Vaz, and also you're trying to just go overboard. Like you're just trying to be another Vaz, and you can't. I'm sorry. With Far Cry 5, I haven't seen any main antagonists, which I thought was very good. You know, the idea is the cultist church-like people that are running amok. But maybe that fell short for me because I'm like, well, now you don't even have an antagonist that I see. And I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's one or probably maybe even multiple large antagonists in Far Cry 5. But with me not being enticed enough to play 4 and now hearing middling reviews about 5, I kind of just retract all the way back to 3 and just wrap my arms around it and go, it's okay. I'm just going to keep you. I'm just going to keep you right here and be totally fine with you just the way you are. I don't need to worry about the other ones. If I had 10 friends that were fucking screaming at me every day, you have got to play Far Cry 5, that would be different. Mostly what I'm hearing from trusted sources is, meh, it's a playthrough. Meh.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've seen as well. I'm playing it.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to ask this for probably the 7th time in this podcast, and I'm not going to remember the answer this time either, so deal with it, Chris. Do you own a Switch?
Yeah.
You do?
I mean, okay. You know that because I played Odyssey and The XCOM Mario Rabbids
I know.
thing. Yeah.
I'm living in the shoes of our audience. It's everybody's first time.
Sure.
But I'm looking at the library of the Switch right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I could squeeze 5 games out of that library that I want to play. And I'm even cheating by using Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've already played that on Wii, I'm still going to say that is a purchasable reason. That is a purchase-worthy reason for the Switch. Like, I would totally be fine with you saying I went out and bought a Switch just to get the Zelda game. Mario Odyssey, again, it was still good. 4 out of 5 for me, good enough. I still prefer Galaxy and all that, but that is also that is a desirable game for the Switch. After that, I'm really having kind of a time trying to find other games, and now I'm looking at the library of upcoming games that are coming out, at least the ones that are known to be coming out for the Switch. Starting to see kind of a dry well here. I know Metroid's coming. I know that. We would all love to have a new Star Fox game, but I don't think there's been anything official on that end yet.
No,
of course, there is. Yeah. Of course, there is a Smash Brothers game coming, which that's great, but I'm not the world's biggest Smash fan. I would just buy it just to support shit, I guess. But not seeing a fuckload of games on the Switch that I want. And it's not immediate, that's fine, because I've never and still not the guy that wants the hottest, newest have to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like I'm hoping that in the next year or two, my Switch library is going to be about 10 games and not just 2. Technically only 1.
I mean, I think that's kind of what it's going to be. I mean, I kind of felt that way about the Wii U as well. And the Switch shouldn't be like that. The hardware is, awesome. It's, a great step as far as that goes. But gotta have some more games. I don't care about Splatoon. I don't care about Skyrim being on it, stuff like this.
Yeah. And let me just say before I scare people away from the Switch, that's not my intention. That's not my meaning. And I'm definitely not saying it's a bad console. The other part to my statement is that there are many games that are being ported to the Switch. So a lot of great games are being able to be played in a very highly mobile form, and that's great. The problem is most of those games I've already played, or like I have on Steam or another console already. So a good example is Skyrim. I've never played Skyrim. If I had any interest in playing Skyrim, I would play it, but I don't know if I'd buy it for the Switch. I'd probably just get it for my PC because there's 10 billion fucking mods and all, and of course I just have it on my PC. There's not a strong enough desire for me. I'm still in that mind frame. This is me, just for me personally, where portability is not the biggest thing for me. Portability is not the biggest draw for me. So it's great that all of these great titles are being ported to the Switch to make them being able to be played on the go. That's great, but like 80% of those games I've already played, or I have on another console and don't want to buy it again.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just banking on that, replaying games on the go, or off the virtual console library.
Yeah, I think they are, man, because every other week I'm seeing more games that are like blah blah announced for the Switch, and I'm like, yeah, that's a port over. It's great that it's getting upscaled a little bit and it's getting put on a console that's highly mobile, but that's not what draws me. I'm in Nintendo's court for Nintendo games. They have had a new Kirby game come out. I've
seen good things about that.
I've heard good things about it. Yeah. So there's hope on the horizon, but just right now, I guess it's affecting me right now because I'm at a place where I actually have a little bit of money and can go buy some games. When I go look at the library for the Switch games, I'm like, man, I could probably... There's 2 guaranteed on here I want to buy, and then maybe 3 more that I'm like, yeah, why not? There isn't like and plus, I mean, the console's what, a year old, roughly a year old. So
I don't know, something like that.
We'll see. We'll see as time goes. This is more of a heart pleading Nintendo. Come on, man. Come on. Start pumping them out. Start knocking these fucking balls out of the court. I'll also say that I have no problem with the 3DS being pushed the way it's being pushed. I don't mind. I never wanted to see the Nintendo stop making games. That's the stupid ass kid me. So if they want to keep making games for the Switch, I mean for the 3DS, that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. Until I see it becoming a problem where it is causing a severe detriment to the Switch release or Switch games being released, I have no problem. Make whatever you want. The 3DS is a good fucking handheld console. Do what you want to do. But if I was to see, say, Star Fox Alpha on the 3DS, but not on the Switch, I'm like, all right, hold on now. What the fuck are you guys doing? Come on.
Yeah.
I have hopes for it, but I have no problem in it right now. My Switch is in my house, and there's one game in it, and that's Mario Odyssey. It would be two, but I've already played Breath of the Wild. I'm interested in playing Hyrule Warriors. I might get that when it comes out.
I think I played one. No, I didn't play that one. I played a different game. Never mind.
Yeah. I've played it on I played the Wii version. Wii U version? I think it's the Wii version. Either way, yeah, I'm slightly interested in that, but it's just a spoiled me complaining about a console being out for a little over a year, and I don't have 50 games to play. It's fine. I just take my toys and go elsewhere.
So I was looking through Kotaku for any articles that stuck out at me or jumped out at me, and they have this big picture. It's the two numbers from Steam. It's the number of games on Steam, which is 21,406. That's a huge number of games. Yeah. But the number released just in 2017 is almost 7,700.
Jesus.
So over a third of all games on Steam were released last year.
Wow. That's scary.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure a large chunk of that are the basically spam games.
Yeah.
The achievement spamming games for trading cards and stuff like that. That's a whole economy behind that.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty large.
Yeah. The last time we had a shit ton of games come out at one time, the entire video game industry crashed. But I don't see that happening. Not right now. Speaking of shit that happened in the 80s, Chris.
Yeah.
Unless you have any more news.
Nope.
Or unless you have any actuallys.
No.
Yeah, neither do I. Especially when we talked about D&D. Everything was factual. Come at us, number crunchers. Chris, let's get into a fight today. Let's fight. Yeah, that's me and you. We're going to fight about... fight? No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to fight. We're going to talk about today's topic, which is... So, we have a couple running series here on the podcast. One is where we go back through every video game year, and we just review the year itself and talk about what we consider highlights. Specifically game topics. Another one, which we just started, we're going to have the second episode of it soon, is us together, Chris and I both, coming to a consensus on what we decide to be the video game of the year for a particular year. This is not necessarily a running series. It can't be because, well, 2000 the teens are not even over yet, so
yeah.
We got about 3 going with this one. It's just an idea I had kicking around. I've thought about if you think back to times, years in gaming history where like, holy fuck, yes, this was an awesome year for games. True enough, 2017 so far is pretty much in the running for that for this decade, because holy shit, there were a shit ton of great games last year, like a plethora of great games. There are a lot of 90s games that a lot of 90s years that can be argued that too. I think 93 through like 98, somewhere in there. We'll get to that decade.
Yeah.
But the idea for this topic is, in a very loose sense, just trying our best. What we decide, we will look through a decade, and we will decide what we think is the best year in that decade. This year we picked the 80s, so that's the year 1980 to 1989, the actual 80s. Same thing with the 90s, same thing with the aughts. A lot can go into this. We don't really, just like most of our other topics, we didn't have like a set in stone make or break rule set. Hardware can be included in this. Games can be included into it. Gaming at moments, something being released, whatever. It's just what year that we thought of this decade was like the year for that decade. I will say, and I'm sure this is going to be the same for you, it was a little bit difficult for me doing this year because, like, I was in the baby phases of gaming during this decade. I was not hyper aware of all the gaming going on around me. Gaming was happening around me as a person. Mm-hmm. Like, titles may have been released and hardware may have been released and all these great things may have happened in video game news of history, but I didn't know that. This is the time in my life where I had an Atari and a Nintendo, and I was scraping by to get what games I could get or play or borrow or trade. I wasn't just vigilant like I am now of like just keeping everything in check. So when I went back to these years, which we've already done, you can check out some of our previous episodes to check out our games of the games that came out in these years. A lot of it was like just kind of like it was when we reviewed the year. It's like, man, that came out that year. Holy shit. And again, not having a really strict set of rules, just going by what I had to kind of feel for what I felt was the best year for this decade. Maybe in the 90s, maybe in the aughts as well. I could probably do a better job because I was around then and shit impacted me more. Mm-hmm. But just looking at some notes I have here, just a random example. Metroid came out in 86. I didn't fucking know that. I'm sure sometime in 88, 89, I played Zelda Metroid finally, but that's a fucking stellar. That's a stellar game. That is a hallmark staple game franchise from Nintendo. That was released. You know, I wasn't aware. I didn't know. I wasn't privy to all that. So the way that we're doing this, Chris and I talked it over, and instead of it being a strict end of time cast, vote for the best year of the decade, we're gonna pick our own individual, and hey, if they align, cool. We just thought the same, but this is not something that we're gonna sit here and debate over, him and I. If anything, we're just gonna talk about the years and determine what we think individually is the best year. We don't know. Like, him and I both kind of talked about some of the years that we think would be the picks of the decade, but I don't know what he picked, and he don't know what I picked, so we're going to see where it goes. An interesting year, a tragic kind of year for the gaming industry as a whole, because the fucking video game crash happened in 1983, so, and I really don't have a lot of knowledge of stuff before 85-ish. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to think 85, somewhere around 80, 85, 86 is when I got my Atari, and I had played some random games here and there. So shit that happened in 79, I don't fucking know. I didn't know that there was a fucking video game crash of 83. I was 1 year old.
I was -4.
Yeah. So by the time that I even started actually getting into games and playing them randomly, that shit had already passed. Mm-hmm. The NES came out in fucking 1985. So a year or two later, I had my first like Atari and Nintendo. And again, being a kid at the time, it was just like, whatever, I'll just take it. Nobody came to me and was like, hey, did you know this fucking shit was down the hole like 4 years ago? Mm-hmm. Like, the gaming was wiped out. We don't even talk about it anymore. Now it's all back in the limelight, thanks to Nintendo. Having said that, I will totally admit, Chris, immediately, I was actually building research right off the bat to make 1985 my year, because that's the year that the Nintendo was released. And I wanted to pick that. I started researching around 85 immediately, because this console was released, was designed, promoted, released. It was all built around the concept of Nintendo as a company saying, we're going to bring this shit back. We're going to bring gaming back to where it belongs. Gaming is not dead. We're going to put... I still draw parallels to the fucking Wii. Their mentality was, we want to put Nintendos in homes. We have the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's not the video game box. It's not the Odyssey. It's the Nintendo Entertainment Center. Folks, you don't realize that when you saw commercials about a decade ago, just throwing out a random fucking loose number, when you saw commercials of fucking grandma and grandpa playing on the Wii, and they're playing the fucking Wii tennis, and you see Uncle Joe Bob playing golf, and you saw that Mr. Greg, your neighbor, playing the fucking baseball game, and you're like, oh, they're just marketing the Wii to anybody. Anybody can play. Let's casualize. They were doing that when the fucking Nintendo was released. The Nintendo was designed to have a fucking zapper to come with it so your grandma could shoot fucking ducks and duck hunt. This is not something new for them. They did this back in 1985. The idea was appeal to the masses. They didn't look at people that had the Atari 2600 or the Amiga or the Apple II or whatever fucking gaming thing you had and said, we want this to be for them. Gamers, come back. Gaming is back. No, they said, hey, world, video games are still a thing. Video games are still fun, and we're going to put this into your home, and this is going to be a home entertainment system for you. The fucking Famicom family computer was designed for your family. It was designed to be a mass appeal. So on that note alone, I immediately ran in 1985. And it was cool. Chris, 1985 was a cool year, but then I looked at all the games that came out in 1985, and I said, oh, this is not the game this is not the year of the decade. The NES did sell 34 million units in the USA, 19.35 million units in Japan, and that is great. That is a fuck ton of consoles back then, and appealing to a mass market, and literally putting fucking shockers to the video game industry as a whole and going, boom, clear, come back to life. It's great. But gaming didn't pick up its stride immediately. It wasn't until some years later that shit started picking up. And that's when I started researching other years and going back to even our old episodes and going back to old years and just looking at what was released. And I think I've narrowed down my year of the decade. It's actually a fight between a couple years, to tell you the truth, because the years around this one are pretty thick as well. But
yeah.
I guess the way, we'll start off the way that you put it earlier. What did you pick for your top 3 years?
So my top 3 years are 85, 86, and 87.
All right. I'm going to be a little shit because okay. I actually didn't pick much around 85 and 88. I picked just 86 and 87.
Okay.
I found quite a few games, of course, Super Mario Brothers being a noteworthy one in 85. But for me, this was a This was a blooming year for the Nintendo. It wasn't a fucking slam release with 50 games and it's all, well, actually none of these were. I didn't find 50 games in any of these.
No.
I'm sure arguments could be made, but
yeah, I mean, I mainly made a note of it because of Super Mario Brothers.
Right.
Just because of it being such an iconic core game, you know, in the history of video games.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right not having it.
Precisely. And it is. Matter of fact, when it was, so Super Mario Brothers came out in 85,
Mm-hmm.
The Legend of Zelda came out in 86.
Yep.
No fucking fault to the Zelda franchise at all. And not talking shit about Zelda at all. And even with Breath of the Wild coming out as of recent and blowing even more just great favored wins across the Zelda landscape, Zelda is not Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Mario is motherfucking known. Mario is equal to Sonic in known. Mario is an icon of the whole entire industry. People associate Mario with video gaming, period.
Yep.
Zelda is a huge icon. It is a staple of the industry. I'd make strong arguments that it is not the icon that Mario is. In Nintendo's world, yes. In the video game world, yes. The world as a whole holds a huge candle, not the same candle Mario holds. Nintendo did a fantastic job and it has done and is still doing a fantastic job of video game to Mario acknowledgement. You know, you hear video games, you think of fucking Mario, you think of Sonic, even with Sonic being what it is today. But yeah, so just the fact of it and the NES being released in 85, that there's such power in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just didn't feel there was enough there for 85. As far as 88, I mean, hey, Madden came out in 88, so there's that. I noticed a trend. This is going to be interesting whenever we get into the next decade. I'll have more facts around it next decade. But the same year that was great for this decade was great for the year that I picked as well. Fuck it. I picked 86 and 87. I stopped at 87. 87 is the year that I landed on. But I'm not just going to talk about 87. I want to talk about 85 and 86 as well, just to talk about, just to give the light where the light belongs.
Okay.
Probably not going to be saying a lot that you folks haven't already heard because, again, this is the majority of what I picked was the video games of that year. It's great whatever year the Super Nintendo was released, but I remember Final Fantasy VI far more than I remember the release of the Super Nintendo. If that makes any sense. I know that the Super Nintendo is the year that was released was probably very great, but Chrono Trigger to me was a bigger deal than the release of the Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. It sounds kind of counterproductive, but when you look at the games of the year, the reason why last year was so good in video games, the reason why 2017 was such a great year in games is because there was game after game after game after game after game after game. Holy shit, there is a library of great games to play. Not, the PlayStation 4 was released, full stop. And it wasn't. I know that. I'm just saying. That's the point that I'm making.
Yeah.
I did look at the hardware released in some of these years, and a lot of it was interesting. Again, most notably being the NES released in 85. But when I was picking my year of the decade, even though it was supposed to be for gaming as a whole, I picked the game that had the most holy shit, fuck yeah, standout games. And with the 80s being what they were, that was kind of hard for me. Because I didn't have the largest experience in the world with games. By the time that I really bulked up on my personal NES library, Nintendo was far done. Like, way done. Damn it, I want to say the Genesis, the SNES. I think those came out in the 90s.
Genesis was 86.
Oh, shit.
The SNES was 91 North America.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Genesis was not 89. The Master System was 86, sorry.
Okay, well, there we go. I was like,
Genesis
wait a minute.
was 89.
I damn sure didn't see Sonic the Hedgehog in 86. I would have wrote that fucker down. So tell me some notable things about 1985, Chris, that stuck out to you that made you put it up in your top 3.
Sure. So really, like I said, Super Mario Brothers was the main reason I put it up there.
Yeah.
One other notable game that I put on there as a note for that year was Gradius.
Oh, yes.
Because that's the start of a long series.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty much it. You know, I was just trying to pick 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is the third out of those 3.
Yeah, completely understandable. And I mean, that really says a lot for it. I know it sounds like it sounds like I'm contradicting myself. Okay, you say you pick games, but you didn't pick hardware because the hardware doesn't matter. I picked Nintendo's year because, again, the video game industry as a whole, video games done, video games over, fuck that. Well, that was a fucking industry that blew up and went away. That happened in 1983. 2 years later, Nintendo as a company said, nah, we're bringing that shit back. Like, this is not done. And they did. They breathed life in this whole entire thing and made such a spectacle about it. So,
you know, I was just thinking because of the timing, because the NES was actually released in 83 in Japan. It was North America 85. Yeah. I wonder if Nintendo's to this day stance on limiting games on their platform stems from that crash. Because the crash occurred because of all the garbage games that were released, you know, just the flood. Maybe that's why they've had this mentality and they've shut out third parties for so long.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I was debating on, I was having such a hard time with this internal debate. I never came to a decision. Was when I'm debating this year of the decade, am I talking Japanese or English release? Because this was a time in the 80s and maybe even before then, the 70s, I don't know, where games got released together or the same game got released, but we're talking years apart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would see games released in 1 year, like March of 1 year, but not released on the same console until fucking October 2 years later. It's crazy. Today, thankfully, for good or for worse, we are in an age now where shit is back to the old school age of being released together, roughly together. And of course, there's stipulations to that. Look at Monster Hunter World. The PC release isn't for another few months.
But that's usually by platform, not by region.
Right. So I honestly didn't. I mean, it got kind of rough. The only one I really had trouble with was Zelda, because that was released in Japan in '86. It didn't get released to the NES. The NES until '87. But
okay, yeah. See, I put on '86 because I went off the Japanese release or whatever was first, I should say.
Yeah, and I did too. I just made a note that, you know, you can use Super Mario Brothers as an example. Okay, well then let's look this up real quick. When was Super Mario Brothers first released? Was it released on the Famicom back in '83? Or was it released on the NES?
85. 83 was Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers was 85 for the Famicom, and then North America in 85 and Europe in 87.
Gotcha.
So North America was on track. I think it was like months apart.
Right. Right.
But Europe got hosed on a lot of these early games.
Yeah.
For well over a year.
But you can definitely look at Super Mario Brothers and see a difference to where the market does kind of play into it. Super Mario Brothers made 40 40.24 million total units. And I think I had a note. I had it split. I think I've scratched it off. But look, again, using the NES as an example, releasing in 85. Famicom was already out in 83. But the NES sold 34 million in the US, 19.34 million in Japan. Maybe the reason why it didn't sell enough in Japan because the Famicom was already out. Maybe. Who knows? Some notable series numbers in here. Contra came out in 87. Final Fantasy came out in 87. Super Mario Brothers 85. I'm just rambling off some notes that I had down real quick.
I have Castlevania for 86. Might and Magic.
Yeah, see, I've got Castlevania that it was in Japan in 86, but in America in 87.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, it does play a part because the gaming industry crashed all around in America. I don't know. I'd have to do my own personal research and find out if the video game crash ever happened in Japan. Was it a worldwide crash or was it a North America crash? I think I've actually heard it referred to a couple times as the North American crash, the North American video game crash of 83.
But the wiki article for it actually says also known as the Atari shock in Japan.
Yeah.
So I think it is primarily in North America, but it impacted everywhere, somewhat at least.
So, I don't know. Use your best judgment. Again, this is kind of a loose list. We're not playing by strict. We're playing D&D rules with this list. We didn't have a set. Like when we do our video game of the year, we kind of have a rule set we're following. We kind of have a sort of a guideline we're going by. With this one, it's just a general this is a feel-good list. This is more of a, you know what? That year, that was the year. If Chris picked 85 and I picked 90, if I picked 90, I'd be fucking wrong. But if I picked 88, it's not that big of a deal. This is not a combined list. In any event, let's talk about 1986. Let's talk about why 1986 was a year to be acknowledged in as a year of the decade. I point the mic at Chris.
Yeah. Sorry, I was clicking to reopen one of the tabs I just closed.
Gotcha.
Because I had mentioned that Castlevania, but that was actually, it was Japan 86, North America 87, and Europe 88.
Yep.
So I think most of my games I have down for 86 are actually 87. But Castlevania, that's a huge series.
Yes.
Zelda, which you also already pointed out, Japan 86, North America 87. Might and Magic. Let me do a quick check, because I mentioned that last time, it's kind of a niche audience, but that was the first year, or the year of the first one. Wow, that actually was North America first. That was North America 86, Japan 1990.
Wow.
Interesting.
See what I mean?
So yeah, that's Dragon Quest, which I'm pretty sure that's going to be one that's Japan first.
Yeah, because Dragon Quest was Japan. We got Dragon Warrior.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was... wow, it didn't come to America until 89.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a bit of a push.
But I put it in 86 because, again, I couldn't decide, man. I just tried to make notes of what came out when, and I mean, we both have our markets. If we're talking about video games as a whole, maybe for me and you, it'd be better to concentrate on North America release because that's what impacted us.
Yeah.
If we're talking about our specific, what we considered it to be, because I don't know what came out in Japan in 88. It didn't affect me. That's not saying that it didn't matter. I'm saying it had no impact on me. The games that came out last year in 2017, they were pretty much released around the same time in the same regions, and everybody got a feel for that. So I would feel more comfortable feeling that collectively that 17 was a good year this decade.
I mean, this is really more for me than you, though. It's for both of us. In the 80s, it didn't really matter when it came out because, at least for me, I didn't play them until the 90s.
Exactly.
So whether it was 86 or 88 doesn't really matter because I played it in 95 or whatever,
right.
Because I was born in 87. So
yeah, the spirit of this list was made with, when you look in the 90s, there are clear years in the 90s that were like, this fucking year, holy shit. There's 40 fucking must-play games that came out this year. Now, the next year, there was 52. Oh, my God, that's the banner year. It's kind of what I'm getting at with this. And I agree. I'm the same way. I'm sure they were released, but I didn't have magazines to read. I didn't have forums to read. I didn't have a network of friends to talk with. I didn't have, 40 fucking YouTube channels to watch reviews and get opinions on. I was anywhere from 5 to fucking 10 years old, or 5 to 15-ish, playing fucking video games that would just, if I could play it, I could play it. If it was around and I could play it, cool. Just please let me play something.
Yeah, I'm now fact checking.
Yeah. So the games that I wrote down for 86, a lot of pillars in here, a couple pillars, but a lot of them are also something else that I did not do for this list. I didn't go back and look at like actual sales. So I kind of played them more like a popularity, kind of what was known to be good or what I considered people thought were good. I
think that's fair because even if a game didn't sell well, it may have been the first in a series that just absolutely blew up. Right. So even though, sure, that individual game didn't have high sales, it's still worth mentioning because that's where it all started.
Right. And this is probably a topic for you and I to discuss someday. I'm telling you this as you right now are opening up the End of Time podcast spreadsheet and jotting down a new topic idea. Do sales necessarily mean a great game? That is such a weird topic to discuss because, I mean, a game can sell a shit ton, but a game being good is subjective. And you're either in or out of the loop when a game sells 70 million copies and you're the guy saying, look, I'm sorry, I didn't like it. I'm sorry Nier Automata was so fucking popular and praised from on high. I didn't think it was the most horrible thing in the world. I'm just saying I didn't like it. But it sold this many. I bet it did. Player Unknown's Battlegrounds is a recent example. Holy fucking hell did that game blow through the roof, Chris, on all levels. I have little no interest in playing it.
Yep.
Now, that's interest in playing it, though. There's no telling what will happen when I actually get the game in my hands. Just saying. I don't know. That's a discussion for another day. But in this list, I did not go back and tally up sales to the thing to add the. This was more like again being a feel good list, just searching my feelings, deciding what I thought topic games that were good for the topic, that were good for this is highly popular, well known. Heard about it often, and especially if I heard it in that young of an age,
Yeah.
Metroid definitely being one of them. That is a Nintendo pillar, no doubt. Released in 86. Can't go wrong with it. Definitely one of the main powerhouse franchises of Nintendo. Legend of Zelda, everything I just said about Metroid, but a little bit more. I'm waiting for the day where I think Metroid kind of had its Breath of the Wild moment back in the day when Metroid Prime came out, because it was definitely a step outside of the known Metroid genre, definitely a step outside of the known Metroid arena, but I don't think it captured as much as Breath of the Wild did. Now, that could be because Breath of the Wild's fresh on my mind. I'll have to go back and fact check and see what the sales are like and then you got to do it to, the date was released and adjust for inflation of population, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. I know from my opinion, Metroid Prime, when it came out, was definitely a holy fuck. Yes, this is the direction it needed to go. And that's the same thing I felt when I played Breath of the Wild. So definitely two dragons of the same color. I have no fucking idea what that meant, but I just said it. Come at me, bro. I'm thinking I said that because Dragon Quest is the next on my list. I'm reading ahead of my own list. But yes, Dragon Quest. Final Fantasy didn't come out till the next year in '87.
Right.
So the big and I mean, this is something I didn't realize until probably in the aughts of my life, was that, we got Final Fantasy over here. They got Dragon Quest over there. We think Final Fantasy is the RPG. They think the Dragon Quest was. And I know the same thing now about Shin Megami Tensei. There are a lot of fucking RPG genres, or a lot of RPG franchises that are like big to-dos.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Quest is the bomb diggity in Japan. So mentioning it in 1986, I can see that. I can respect that. I didn't play Dragon Quest. I played Dragon Warrior, which, as Chris said, was released in 2074. So it was way after the fact. I put Adventure Island. I put Hudson's Adventure Island. In retrospect, I don't think that's a huge hit for the NES. I know Adventure Island is known, but I don't know if it didn't come out. I don't think Hudson's Adventure Island came out and blew people's socks off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty sure Metroid did, for many reasons. Arkanoid. This one was the arcade Arkanoid. I found the first one, the one that started the whole Arkanoid franchise stuff, came out in '86.
Mm-hmm.
Cool beans. Definitely showing some arcade love there, which is good, because arcades are part of it. A lot of these games got ported from the arcade. Kid Icarus, put that one in there. Not a super high popular Nintendo franchise, but definitely is one. I think they tried to revitalize it a little bit a couple years ago with the Kid Icarus Uprising.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, all in all, total, Chris, Kid Icarus has like 3, maybe 4 games. Zelda has like 15, 70 something games.
3.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this timeline: 1986, 1991, 2012.
Yeah, but hey, he's at Pips and fucking Smash Brothers, so Nintendo shows him love.
Mm-hmm.
It's good enough for me. And then we've got Chris's favorite newest movie, Rampage, that came out in 1986. Chris, tell me how did it feel to meet Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in 1986?
I didn't even see that one on the list when I was going through. I actually played Rampage first on 64.
Oh yeah,
with Rampage 2 Universal Tour.
Uh-huh.
So I've never played the original. But it's in the movie.
I think this was an arcade version for 86.
Yes.
And I never played the arcade version. I think my first one was the NES version. But yeah, the fact that this fucker's known enough that it got a movie released in fucking 2017 or 18, whenever the fucking shit that came out. But really, that's about where my list ended. I saw a few more notables in there, a few more. I could put that on there, but that's about really all I got. 1987, though. I got a few more.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact you're going to say I'm being biased. But
I actually, when I first started making my list, I was like, all right, let me go look up this year, because I know it's going to be one that he picks.
So 85, it's notable because it revitalized this hobby that I have to the populace. That's good. That's great. 86, the next year after, starting to pick up pace. Had a few good ones come out. Started some pillars. 87 for me, that was my pick. After my internal debate, I picked 87. And the games that I picked for this year, I picked Castlevania, which apparently that is cheating because it did come out in 85 first. But I actually played Metroidvania. I almost said I played Metroidvania in 86. I did. I played Castlevania. I want to say probably maybe 88, 89-ish. And, of course, I didn't play the Japanese version. Duh, I played the English version. And I knew the North American release. And I knew it was a great game. I enjoyed it. And it was, again, another staple industry of the gaming industry as a whole. Next, it came out in 87, Final Fantasy. Huge, folks. Humongous pillar in the gaming world. And this also has personal memory to me because this was the first real RPG that I ever bought on my own. You can check back to a previous episode where we talked about memories of old games, and this is me picking between fucking Terminator 2 and Final Fantasy 1. Holy shit, I'm glad I picked Final Fantasy. And I did not know what I had in my hands with Final Fantasy. I did not know back then that this was going to be what it is today. I mean that for the good and for the bad. But yeah, come on, man. Final Fantasy, franchise, video games. Holy shit. Fuck yes. Mega hit. Well known in the gaming world. And then a little game came out called Mega Man. All right, so my list is done, Chris. This is a good episode, brother. Man, I'm glad we came together and talked about this. No, I'm just kidding. Mega Man being released in 87 is great. That's awesome. But you have to remember, Chris, I didn't play Mega Man 1 until, probably 97. It was way later in my life where I ever played it. I had played Mega Man 3 and 2 and mainly 4 long before I ever played Mega Man 1. So me putting Mega Man on here is more like a nod to that. Yeah, this was the start of that franchise. I have Metal Gear on here, which...
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
Man, I don't know what to say about Metal Gear. I think I have played in my lifetime, I've played Metal Gear 1 for a total of maybe 15 minutes. This was one of those random games that I think our Jughead had brought to a family gathering of his, and I got to play it for a little bit. Don't remember all the memes that popped up about Metal Gear after the fact, like the fucking dog slept here or whatever the fuck that one is, and all the shit that you know about the NES Metal Gear. I knew nothing about. I had to catch up on all this shit well into my 20s and 30s in life. But this is the year that Metal Gear 1 was released. Again, the year of a stellar fucking franchise starting. Now, that also doesn't necessarily make the gear good. It's also about the games itself in those years being like, oh shit, these are the popular ones. I don't know how popular Metal Gear was back in the day, man. I didn't play it. Just going off the history of what Metal Gear is, that's why I put it on this list.
Yeah.
Phantasy Star. Put that on here. Because while the NES and later the NES would revel in their RPG history and all the great RPGs that would come out on the Nintendo side, this was Sega's side.
Yeah.
They had RPG stuff too. Arguably maybe not as good. That's up to people's opinion. But something else that I did not know about this until I looked it up. Phantasy Star started and released let me say that correctly. Phantasy Star, the franchise, started with the first game that was released in 1987, female protagonist. That was pretty cool. All the hullabaloo that was made about Metroid having a female protagonist. Oh, fuck, Chris. Spoilers. Did I just do that? Shit. I'm sorry, everyone, that I spoiled that the 1986 video game Metroid, you're actually playing a girl the whole time. 1987 had a fucking RPG. The protagonist was female. What do you know? We've been having lead female roles for a long time. Good to know. It's good to know this, that the gaming is not as sexist as people make it out to be. Bionic Commando, another good franchise. Not up there.
Not a huge
way
one,
up there.
yeah.
But good. This is another Jughead game I remember a lot. I remember that this is the game that was being played the day that he got the Nintendo RF cable and power cord cut into with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
To my fucking horror, you can go back and listen to one of our episodes about Memory Lane to pick up on that one. Hey, Double Dragon came out in 87, Chris. Double Dragon. Again, I'd probably put that a little bit above Bionic Commando because they did have quite a few Double Dragon games. It was also an arcade hit, and I think this was the arcade release as well. So, hey, beat 'em ups are getting hot. It's good to know. Double Dragon came out. Cool. Punch Out. Punch Out came out this year. Punch Out has seen a lot of love over the years. Super Punch Out was fucking awesome. The Wii Punch Out was just as good. Had a lot of love given to it. So, yeah, that came out this year. Street Fighter. Now, this is the funny thing. The original Street Fighter came out in arcades in 1987. Nobody fucking talks about Street Fighter, do they, Chris? Everybody talks about Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
It's almost like nobody knows about the arcade life before Street Fighter 2. I, as a kid and young teenager in the 80s and the 90s, didn't know anything about Street Fighter, the original. And this is all subjective. This could be completely with the friends I had and the lifestyle, not having a lot of money, not having a lot of access to things. Rarely, like arcades for me were a rare thing, almost like a treat level of rare. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have this alleyway full of arcade bars I could go to. So if there were cities, if you lived in a city where Street Fighter 1 was a thing and you knew about it, cool for you. I didn't know that Street Fighter was actually a big thing until close to graduating high school. I used to hear rumors about the game that came out before Street Fighter 2. Like, did you know it wasn't called Street Fighter? It was called Fighting Street. And it was like crazy shit, man. But yeah, the start of the whole Street Fighter fighting game arm of the fighting game franchises came out 1987. It's good to know. And lastly, I hesitated to put this on the list, but apparently it did sell a good amount of units and it's actually got like 75 to 80% scores across the board average. I put Zelda 2 on here. Zelda 1 came out in 86. I think that's the one that counts, but Zelda 2 came out in 87 and a departure from what you knew, and it's got kind of pretty good reviews. So there's that. What do you think about 1987, Chris?
I mean, you nailed all the ones I was going to mention and then some. I had Contra, Mega Man, and Final Fantasy as my big three.
Did I not put Contra on here? Did that come out in 87?
Yeah.
Oh my
Did you not?
God.
I thought you mentioned it. Did you not?
No, I didn't. I mentioned Bionic Commando. That's about the closest I got to it. I mentioned Metal Gear, but no.
No. Okay.
Yeah, there's another one. Jesus,
Yeah.
I fucking missed right over that.
Yeah, and if going based on the North America release dates, which it's fun, you keep talking about that, but you kind of bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
Because Zelda 2 was 88 for North America. Final Fantasy was 90.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, 87 as a whole, even just for North America was solid.
Yeah. It's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky. And maybe when the 90s roll around, it'll be a little bit easier games kind of got a little closer to their releases, and felt like it was. I feel like I could look in the 90s and definitely pinpoint a few years. It seems like the 90s are going to be more of a debate for me internally, because good God, we're already going to have enough debates as it is with the games with the game of the years for those years. But was there any other ones? You said Contra. Any other ones on the list that or your personal list that I didn't mention?
Not for 87, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I loosely looked at 88, 89. I gave 80 through 82 its due diligence. That's about as much as I want to give to them, because I don't know. I don't even know what gaming was like in the early 80s and the 70s. I had an Atari 2600, but man, I couldn't tell you. I could look at a game. I could look at lists of games, which we have actually, that came out those years, but it's not even like 15, 20 long for me. Like, yes, this was a game I was happy it came out. This was awesome. Yeah. That was barely this decade. It's not until next decade. Next decade, yeah, shit ton of games.
Yeah, early on, some that I made note of is Pac-Man was an 80.
Yeah.
Space Invaders 2. Missile Command. Those are all three classics.
Oh, yeah.
81, Galaga and Frogger. And one game that I was actually thinking the other day about looking to see when it came out is one called Qix. It's QIX.
Man,
it's like,
I remember that game.
It was a Game Boy game, and it's sort of like a Snake game, except you're making boxes to either close in or avoid, or to fill in the board, avoiding these little glowy things that went around. That was another Game Boy game that I spent a lot of time on.
I'm looking this game up right now because I swear I can recall the cover for it. It was QIX?
Yep. I had it, so...
Game Boy.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking it up because I recognize that. Yeah, I remember this cover. It's fucking diamond with... Yeah.
82, the only game I made a note of was Miss Pac-Man. Just because that was another one of the major Pac-Man games. There's like 80 of them.
Yeah.
But there are a few that really stand out, like Miss Pac-Man and the original.
And I mean, as much as I made the case for Mario being a worldwide phenomenon, video game equals Mario icon, you cannot deny the same for Pac-Man.
Yeah. That was the classic arcade game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's another part of the it's not even a trifecta. It's just something you can immediately associate. Somebody says, quick, video games, what do you think? And they go, Mario, Pac-Man, Sonic, Suikoden. No, you don't say that shit. You fucking
Master Chief.
Yeah, Master Chief. Yeah.
Yeah. 84, the only thing I noted was Tetris.
Yeah, which in that year, with gaming being what it was, that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. And 88 was basically what I'm kind of looking at my list, kind of dubbing the year of sequels. Mega Man 2, Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3.
Yep.
Final Fantasy 2, and then Altered Beast.
Yeah. Good hits in there, no doubt. There are hits in there. But I feel like there was just more of games. I don't know. I'll say 87.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
87. Another thing I can do to add to this was looking over, again, cheating and looking up Wikipedia articles, but just looking over the years as a whole, like we've already done, but mainly for gaming all the way around, even hardware. There's, let me see some stuff that come out. Oh man, in August of 85, the final issue of Electronic Games magazine is published.
Really?
EGM?
85?
Yes, but see, that's not Electronic Gaming Monthly though. It's Electronic Games. Yeah.
Okay, so rebranding type thing. or different thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couple game companies came out in 85. Were Bethesda being one of them. Holy shit. Cinemaware, Codemasters, Square Company, because they weren't Squaresoft yet. Tidus and Westwood Studios. You know, when I think of Westwood Studios, I immediately think of Command & Conquer Red Alert. And I always think of that. Now I'm going to have to look that up and make sure I'm not a fucking liar. Just looking through the list of shit that happened in these years is kind of interesting. Just a trip back through memory lane. We've already went through some of the games we even cared about. But yeah, Chris mentioned Gradius. Commando came out that year. Space Harrier, oh boy, but that's not. Is that? Yeah, that's Space Harrier. No shit, that came out in 85. It's a known game. Consoles, you got Super Mario Brothers, released for the Nintendo, which eventually sold 40 million copies, making it the best-selling video game of all time till 2008. And then in October, they released Duck Hunt for the Famicom. What hardware it came out 85? Nothing really. Space Harrier Arcade came out that year. 86, the Commodore releases Mindwalker. I don't know why I read that. Nintendo releases Legend of Zelda, designed by Shigeru Miyamoto. Nice. SNK coming out with Ikari Warriors, Dragon Quest, Super Mario Brothers, The Lost Levels. I love how even to this day, when I read articles for Super Mario Brothers, The Lost Levels, they always make mention, yeah, this was released in Japan only, because shit was too hard for your fucking North American fucks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like known. It used to be like kind of tongue-in-cheek. Like, yeah, no, it's known now. No, they flat out said, we're not going to release that game over here because Americans will cry.
Yeah, you know, I actually didn't realize that the Atari 7800 came out after the NES.
Yeah.
I thought that was before.
The second generation of consoles, man, are so up in the air with me. I didn't realize probably until my late teens, maybe even 20s, that there were this makes sense now because of the crash happening, but the fact that there were so fucking many second generation consoles, so many like random sporadic companies making all these game consoles, just blew my mind. I knew I had an Atari 2600, so I knew of that. Back in the day, I had heard of the Amiga, and I have heard of the ColecoVision, but that was it. But you pull up the second generation of consoles, period, and just look at it's just it's a smorgasbord of fucking crazy, weird companies.
Yeah.
And yeah, Westwood Studios, Command & Conquer Red Alert. Just making sure my mind wasn't too crappy. See what else I can just graze over real quick. In 96, Nintendo released Metroid. We said that. Adventure Island. Sega releases Outrun, racing game. Don't know nothing about it. Hardware. Apple releases the final computer in the Apple II line. I remember at my elementary school them having Apple II computers, and that was like the closest I could ever get to playing video games in the school.
But then it was all the educational games.
Right. Man, what's the fucking, they should have had Oregon Trail on the Apple II. That would have been good.
Yeah, I didn't get to play that until what was that? Was that middle school? And I was in Gifted, and the computer in there we had it.
I didn't even know about Oregon Trail until my late 20s.
Wow.
Didn't even know what the fuck. Yeah, I know. And everybody around me was like, you didn't play this in school, or you didn't play this? And I was like, no, I never even heard of this before.
And that's unusual for me to have played something before you back then.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, it happens. It can happen. Atari 2600, I'm sorry, Atari 7800 released in 86.
Yeah.
Sega Master System home release, the Twin Famicom. Business, new companies Acclaim, Majesco, Ubisoft, Bethesda Softworks, and TradeWest. iMagic went defunct. Never even heard of that. So 87, we've already listed most of those games. Hardware. Master System released in Europa. Commodore low cost Amiga 500. I didn't even know. Again, I had heard that name, but have never. Nobody that I can remember being at their house or hanging out with friends or whatever had these other consoles. It's like the only thing in my vision was the 2600. That's how narrow my vision was back in the day. Namco develops the Namco System 1. I don't see any business stuff in here, so unfortunately. But yeah, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. This was kind of a sporadic bounce around idea list, but this year again, just to save as much face as I can from me and Chris, this was not my hot 2 year, or this wasn't my hot 2 decade. This was the baby stages and baby steps of my life in the gaming world. I didn't have enough around me to. We are overwhelmed today with a massive influx of media ingestion of news and release dates and trailers and all that. You've got so many video channels and video streams to you to see something new coming. There's so many magazine publications. Video games they're just increasingly more popular than they've ever been, so word of mouth is out there. You have so many more gaming stores around you, it seems. It just seems today that when you have lots of games coming out, it's known. It's also, I'm 36 now and not fucking 8 years old, so a little bit rough for me to make one. I think the next time we do this, when we do it for the 90s, it's definitely gonna be more challenging.
Yeah.
I recently ran through, I don't know if you've done this on your own, Chris, but I recently ran through just some of the lists of the 90s. Kind of in like a very, very early prep for our upcoming Game of the Year episodes. Holy shit, man. I've said a lot. I know I keep rubbing this in. I hope it's as impactful for you folks out there that it was for me reading it. But I'm telling you, there are a lot of 90s years where it's like, oh my God, how did we deal with all these games? Shit, how did you deal with it last year, Chris? So I feel good. I'm sorry, Chris. What year did you pick, by the way?
I can agree with 87.
87 sounds good.
I was originally going to say 86, but I'd missed some of the ones in 87, and with how many of those were actually in 87, even though we kind of have a mix at this point, I can agree 87 was the big year.
Yeah. So, you know what? Just for this year, we'll see how the next couple of decades roll around. I'm going to go ahead and put the End of Time cast stamp on this one. End of Time cast as a whole says that 1987 was the best decade of the 80s for as far as gaming goes. Best year of the decade. Yeah, best decade of the millennia. There we go. That's sadly, Chris, it's probably an episode we're never going to get to do because I don't think I'm going to be living. Oh, man. I don't know. Who knows what fucking medical technology they're going to have at that time.
You'll be on your sixth body.
Jesus. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ready for all that. I don't know if I want to do all that. I used to think the coolest thing to do was the whole freeze your body in cryostasis and then just be released like 100 years later. I always think that'd be pretty cool. Talk about a fucking culture shock, though.
Yeah.
That sounds like a tangent episode right there. Like, what do you do 100 years from now when you wake up? For one, I look for my wife and go, I hope y'all froze her ass, too. I don't want to fucking... You'll fucking bring me back here by myself? Are you fucking kidding me? Don't tell me you froze my rabbits. That's just fucking... You froze my fucking rabbits, but you didn't freeze my wife? She didn't want to. I don't give a fuck what she wanted. I'm stuck here now. What am I supposed to do? I don't even know you people. Oh, you found your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson. Do you play video games? What's a video game? And I punched the fuck out of that kid. I punch my child in the future. Yeah, I'll do it. That is something, just to end tonight on a tangent topic, Chris. You're experiencing it right now because you have a couple kids in your house.
Mm.
I have no kids yet, and I've asked so many other parents this, especially parents that have parents that are video game players that have kids. How does video gaming run in your household with let's say your daughter specifically? Like, is she into gaming? Have you posed it to her? Is she interested? Do you push it on her? Do you say whatever, live your life? Like, how do you treat it?
Oh yeah, she loves them.
Okay.
She can't stay out of trouble, so she can actually play them. But yeah, when she can, she loves them.
Boy, don't that fucking sound familiar.
Not for me. I was a good kid.
Were you the angel, Chris?
I mean, I wouldn't put those specific terms on it, but essentially, yes.
Is there anybody that would?
I mean, you're the one with all the stories about the hellion you were.
Hey, man, I was pretty bad.
I didn't have those problems.
But I mean, that's good, man. That's good that you have, when your child is interested in the thing that you're interested in. That's great. I've often thought about how I'm going to handle it. It's been asked to me too. Like, what do you think you're going to be around your kid? It's always that question. What are you going to do when you have a son and you introduce him to video games? He likes them, but it's whatever. But he really wants to go play football, and then he starts hating video games and he wants to do nothing but play football. Man, if that's my son, I mean, whatever he wants to do. I was fortunate that in my household, like my father was into outdoor stuff. He's into hunting, fishing, all that stuff. And I eventually grew out of that on my own. I just started not wanting to do it and really, really wanted to do nothing but play video games. And I mean, my dad didn't force me to do it. He may not have supported me, but he didn't fucking come into my bedroom and burn my Nintendo down.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. If my kid or kids are not into video games, is it gonna suck for me? Yeah, I might pout about it. I might be a little bit hurt internally, but it's not something I'm gonna turn on my kids. If they're not into video games, they're just. I'll fucking blame the gaming industry. Like, why couldn't you appeal to my kids, man? What the fuck's wrong with you? I can only do so much to try to bring games to people's life. I've been doing it all my life. I've tried to bring this hobby to other people and show the light of what's there. But I mean, people are going to be into what they're into. I will introduce gaming to my kids in whatever way I choose to, slowly, and try to bridge gaps for them. But I mean, if they turn 9 years old and they're like, you know what, Dad, I just don't like it. But come on, son, it's Final Fantasy. Dad, I've hated Final Fantasy my whole life. I punched my kid. No,
and then disown them.
Yeah, and then disown them. Like, no, man. I mean, I imagine there's going to be times in your life where there's something you're going to be hardcore interested in, and your kid's going to be like, "Yeah, I just don't really care about that." It's part of life. I'm going to support my children in whatever hobbies they get into, if not for the fact that not everybody supported me with my hobbies. It would have been nice to have somebody come in my room and play some games every now and again, or just show a little bit more interest. I'm not going to be able to speak all fucking day to my kid if he gets all up into baseball. I played, at a local grade school with him, but I don't know what the batting average of fucking Sammy Sosa was in 71. I don't even know if the fucker was alive that year. But if that's what my kid's interested in, he's got a big fucking Sammy Sosa poster on the wall. Hey, man, yeah, we'll go catch a ball game now and again. Hobbies are what they are. And you will learn this as the older you get. Fucking one hobby is not going to sate you anyway. I have too many hobbies. I just don't have enough fucking time for them all. So I don't know where that tangent came from, but it's just something I've thought about now and again. Like, how do you handle, like, what hobbies it's just a question that's been posed to me. Like, what are you going to do if your kids don't like video games, man? I'm going to love my kids, period. This is my hobby. It doesn't matter if anybody else is interested in it. I'm interested in it. And as long as great games keep coming out, I'm going to be playing them.
Yep.
So I think that's going to do it for tonight, man. A little shorter episode. I bet you people are fucking like, man, what's going on? Are they sick? This is not a 4.5 hour episode. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, there's not, hours upon hours of Persona 5 to talk about.
Unfortunately, no.
And I spend so much time with D&D stuff. And it's kind of unfortunate because I can't actually talk a lot about it other than what you've actually seen. Otherwise, then, it'd spoil it. So.
Like you directly are in a spoiler line for me.
Yes. Hey, guess what you're doing next week?
Yeah. So, but hey, it's good stuff. We still got some good talks in.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals out there who have still stuck around through the rest of this episode, even though you probably weren't even born in 87. What'd you think about this episode's topic as a whole? When you look back at a decade of gaming, can you pick out a year of a decade and say, this was the banner year? This was... I know some people that can make the argument that they think they have a year of gaming, period. I don't know. We could probably debate that after we get all of our 3 that we can talk about decades out of the way, but if you have any knowledge of the 80s as a gaming whole, what do you think the video game year of that decade was? What major games came out? It's just something that's food for thought, What do you think the year of that decade was that had this was chock full of great material? Whether you agree with our list or not, we like to hear your opinions all the way around. Always interested in hearing D&D talk as well. If you want to tell me how fucking horrible my character is, or how great Chris's DMing skills have been so far, we take all topics. Hey, we may be done with Persona 5, but if you're just getting around to it, or if you were inspired to play it and you have stuff you want to talk about, we're willing to talk about that too. Anything and everything gaming related, we're all about talking. We love to hear feedback. There's a few ways you can get a hold of us. We do have a Facebook page. You can just search for the End of Time Cast. Should take you straight to us. It may be how you even got here today to this episode. You can send us an email. We have an email at endoftimecast@gmail.com. That's endoftimecast@gmail.com. No funny numbers in there. Just spell it as you heard it. Should take you right to... Should let you send an email right to us. We have a Twitter page. Same thing. Look for End of Time Cast. You can send us a tweet if that's what you feel more comfortable at. Many ways to get a hold of us. Let us know your opinions, your thoughts, anything you want to talk about. If you have any topics you want to suggest, any questions you have for us, opinions, negative or positive, we'll take whatever you want to bring to us for talking points. That's going to do it for tonight's episode. And until next time, I'm Michael.
I'm Chris.
Good night, everybody.